year. Flip City Magazine. Remember Mad Magazine? Then it went woke? Wow, don't worry. Flip City has no chance of going woke. That's right. 4 times a year, you'll get an actual printed magazine full of jokes, stories, comics, and more, all about today's pop culture, entertainment, and woke politics. Flip City takes terrible entertainment trends we love to hate with hilarious parodies of Lord of the Rings, Stranger Things, The Walking Dead, Star Trek, Hunters, and more. Trust me when I say there is nothing else like Flip City on the market. So subscribe today. It will be delivered in print, or you can even get it digitally if you're one of those wacky Zoomers. Either way, follow our link and sign up today, and if you put in midnight, you get an extra 10% off. Check out Flip City Magazine today.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Midnight's Edge in the morning. It is morning, and still, the Disney earnings call has already been several hours ago, and if you blinked, you missed it. But we didn't, because both myself and WDW Pro were covering that live with Valiant Renegade, so I'll be giving you all of the highlights, along with the rest of the panel. On that note, let's introduce them all, beginning with the special guest of the hour, WDW Pro. Thanks for joining us.
Well, happy to be back, and was very pleased to get to share the panel with you this morning. Of course, Valiant Renegade does a phenomenal job covering these earnings calls inside the entertainment industry, and I have to say that Disney went with a very different direction than what we are used to. All the fanfare gone, and perhaps all the fans gone. Disney simply stripped this down to questions from industry insiders, and that was all we had.
Yeah, indeed. But luckily, we have much more here on this panel. We also have, representing the Great Wise North, Mr. Call Me Chato.
Hello. I'm representing all of Canada.
Indeed. A good part of Canada.
Yes, apparently.
Yeah. And also representing somewhere much more south and much warmer and dustier is Culture Casino.
That's right. Hey, thanks for having me. I'm very interested in the abbreviated nature of this earnings call, since it really lacked substance and or any actual answers to any questions that were posed. It was very interesting.
Indeed, it was a very interesting earnings call, and we are about to get to it. First of all, Dr. Longdongler sends in a super sticker, so everyone please smash that like and let everyone know that we are alive. That would be most appreciated. And yeah, with that, since we have you here, WDW Pro, could you talk us through this earnings call and how it separated from earlier ones, even though you alluded to that already?
Well, there are some very fascinating things about the earnings call. One is that the leading headline that went out early this morning and seems to be the preferred narrative of the corporate press. And by the way, they're all in the bag for Disney because it does them no good for Disney to fail. Disney is carrying the water for some of their very favorite topics and socio-political efforts. So the leading narrative is that Disney has achieved streaming profitability a quarter early, beyond what they'd even said they would do. It turns out, though, that the way that Disney achieved that streaming profitability is by recalculating the way they were going to figure out the numbers in the first place. So hard to believe that they actually achieved any kind of profitability there. The other fascinating thing about that particular aspect is that there's an article out of Variety today that talks about Disney likely on the hook for an extra $5 billion finishing their purchase of Hulu. Although even that, I think, is favorable to Disney. I think in reality that amount is going to be much higher. And so Disney does this earnings call where they talk about they've made some millions, whatever the total amount is, some millions, not in the hundreds of millions, but some millions of profitability for streaming. And then in the trades, they talk about, and this is, of course, outside of any part of the earnings call, the trades are now talking about, well, Disney's got this $5 billion expense, but we're not going to count that expense against the profitability for reasons. And so that's the best they've got. Of course, Iger not apt to want to talk about the cost of Hulu because, well, that will mean that profitability is far, far away. Because it's really hard to reach any kind of profitability when you're spending $5 billion extra on top of the $8 billion you spent at the beginning of the year. And oh, by the way, it's probably more. However, what has been perhaps damaging to the outlook of the stock and has caused it to drop 2.5%-ish. Of course, it's always changing, and we won't know where it lands until the bell rings. But the reason Disney might be down and has been down more than 3% at times during the day is because of the theme parks. Disney is largely a theme park company. Yes. Huge percentage of the company is driven by essentially Disney World, which is about 1/3 of all of the profits the company receives. But the domestic parks in particular and the cruise lines are huge for Disney. Now, they invest heavily in the international parks, thinking that's going to lift them over the line in the future, but that future seems to always be just across the horizon always moving. What has scared investors, at least perceivably so, and no financial advice being given here in this show today, folks, at least not by me. Culture may tell you to invest in Dogecoin later. I'm not sure. Go Doge is his hashtag of the day. But what has investors perhaps scared is that Disney acknowledged that there is lower attendance at the domestic parks. But they did that in sort of a funny way. They called it demand moderation as opposed to lower attendance. Nobody's coming. And the really scary thing for investors is that this company, again, a theme park company essentially, this company is not guiding towards that improving in the future. In fact, when asked directly about it, they said that the international parks might see a rebound in attendance, but they never said that the domestic parks would. Well, when 1/3 of your entire company's profits come from Central Florida, and you're not guiding towards this improving, I think it's proving what we've been saying now for months, which is that attendance was cratering, and Disney needs to get their mind around this. The problem is D23, the giant Disney Expo, is coming up. And what we're hearing now is that Disney has no major plans for big announcements. Lots of blue sky, lots of promises. Again, always across the horizon when it comes to investments in the Disney parks. Last year, they announced huge expansion coming to Disney's Animal Kingdom. Still haven't broken ground on that one. Have a feeling we may be far away from big improvements to bring back the guests. That has investors spooked.
Yeah, and for good reason, because I want to push back on this $5 billion number. I think it's closer to $8 billion that they're going to be on the hook for. And from a bookkeeping,
this is just a number that they are saying. No one has said there's going to be a maximum. That's what they are saying. No one external has said, "Oh, it's only going to be 5." I mean, it could be 12 more for all we know.
Yeah, I still figure based on the value and revenue and earnings and all of that, that it's probably another 8 billion, but that's neither here nor there. What I think is interesting about that, Pro, is, and I think you actually may have said something like $8 billion on the show, but regardless, Hulu is kind of a way they're hiding that money, and they can hide it because it's not a realized debt, because it hasn't yet been decided. But you're correct. They don't really own all of Hulu yet. And the longer they drag this on, the more they will owe in arrears as far as the revenue that it generated during that period of time. Although they'll claim that they weren't receiving the, what is it called? The money and support or maintenance of Hulu that they were getting from Comcast. So we'll see. There's a lot of quibbling still going back and forth, and I imagine no matter
$1 billion quibbles there, Culture.
True,
they're raising their rates.
Well, yeah, then that's the other part of this equation, right?
Increases for Hulu and for Disney Plus.
Yeah,
right. 25% increase in the base level subscription plan. And they're going to crack down on password sharing. All that, I think, is pointing towards Disney having a struggle. I think they've poorly timed this crackdown that they're aiming at the same time they raise prices. And I just, when I look at the Nielsen ratings, I don't see Disney.
I think it's because they're predicting an onslaught of really high-quality programming that will attract people to the systems.
They must be buying someone then.
Thank you.
Who's up on the purchase list there, Bob?
They turn them around.
What?
They've hired Ryan Reynolds to run Hulu and Disney Plus.
And they brought back to life Selznick is what they did. Anyway, regardless, I have to tell you that it isn't just that. It isn't just the price increases or anything else. It's the fact that they knew going into this call they wouldn't have anything nice to say, which is why they once again changed the normal format of how they do their quarterly calls. And they went right into questions. No preamble, nothing.
No preamble,
And,
no flavor to the release statement. They didn't get into the statement at all. No reading of it. It's just a press release that's completely exterior to the actual earnings call. And I remember, Culture, and you remember this, it wasn't long ago that Disney would have some sort of little intro video that was very, magical, and they would try to get you in the Disney feels and all of that. Stripped completely bare today.
Was a year ago almost that it was that super grandiose presentation with the video. Yeah, I do recall that. Of course, they really needed that to distract you from the fact that they didn't make a profit that quarter. But obviously year over year, based on some special accounting tricks, as Mexican Iron Man would say, they were able to show that they made money. So there you go.
And there was nothing but accounting tricks, because literally they've changed how they count certain numbers and metrics from the last from 2 or 3, not the last, from two or three sessions ago until this one. And yeah, on the presentation of it, you are right. I mean, to me, this was the most stunning, because now, ever since Bob Iger was basically sucker punched by his own shareholders on that one time when average retail shareholders could come in and ask questions, and it was a bloodbath afterwards. I think they were determined that is never going to happen again, because they have scaled it more and more down afterwards. Like the last time that happened, we only got AI recitations of these alleged questions that we have no way of verifying actually were questions, or if they wrote them themselves. And also, what I find really interesting here is that this time it was 2 hours, 1 hour, help me out, Pro, from when the statements was made official to when the earnings call was.
So I believe at about 7:15 a.m. Eastern time, we received the statements from Disney, and then at about 8:30 a.m., so about an hour approximately, 8:30 a.m., and they were a little bit late. They went into just the 5 questions, and straight into the questions with no explanation.
Okay, let's say that they had 1 hour 15 minutes. So from 1 hour 15 minutes until the reports were released, this was the time that the shareholders, and remember, this is just the institutional shareholders, retail shareholders aren't even allowed this. They had 1 hour 15 minutes to download the report, read them all in detail, because this was the assumption that you have all read these reports, so we don't need to go through anything. Let us just go through the questions. And in that time, they were supposed to have the questions ready.
Oh, exactly, Andre. And not only that,
but to me, that seems like a tactic of, we don't really want to answer any questions. We have something to hide, and we're not even going to give you the time to fully absorb this. And this is for the friendly shareholders that voted for Bob Iger in the first place.
Well, Andre, you're exactly right. Even beyond that, they ended so quickly with only 30 minutes given to this that it gave 1 hour between the I almost call it a press conference, is what it felt like, and the opening of the markets. Well, guess what? By putting this so early and keeping it so brief, I suspect, although I cannot claim with assurance, but I suspect the strategy here is to limit the visibility of the earnings call and maximize the narrative that was put out to the press. And what is the narrative again? Disney reaches streaming profitability 1 quarter ahead of schedule. That is supposed to be the official narrative.
Well, but add this to it, Pro, and this is a really interesting thing.
Saying? What?
Yes, that's the summary. That's what they want you to take away. That's not.
I don't believe you.
That's not what you should take away. but that is what they want you to take you. And remember, in the past occasions, you had basically Bob Iger and the CFO go through the numbers. And when they did that, that was much easier for most of these journalists to follow along with what is happening and do some write-ups. They can't do that now, because now they have to actually read these numbers. That requires some level of skill that most of these reporters, even in the Financial Times and stuff, don't have. And so they are much more likely to kind of like go with the narrative. We're going to see what some other newspapers get. It's so much easier for them to have some friendly news outlets, have, like, for instance, ABC News, which is owned by Disney, report that
No connection at all.
Disney is achieving profitability ahead of 1 year ahead of time, or once, exactly what Culture said, and then everyone else can pick up on that. I mean, that's kind of like how you control the narrative in a sense. What say you,
Well, what?
Or Culture?
No, I was just going to say, a couple minutes ago that they've manipulated the numbers also in a way that's incredibly devious. They've stopped producing, for the most part, or slowed producing things for Disney Plus in order to, spend less money on a sinking ship. So you're getting far less content than you had before. And when they do make these things, they show themselves to be failures. And as, one of the things I put together this week pointed out, that, Nielsen is a big deal to Disney. And Nielsen is measuring all these Disney shows as failures. So, they're slowing down content.
Culture, you know better. You heard Bob.
Yeah.
Bob said that these are shows that are winning awards. They're getting Emmys. Culture, how dare you, sir? I can't believe you would doubt Bob.
Can I just say this? The worst thing you can tout on a financial call is your awards in Hollywood.
As I said on the Valiant Renegade coverage, it's like asking a kid to show them their grade card, their report card for their last semester, and instead they show you 3 gold stars on their art project. It's like, no, that's not what I'm interested in right now. But I'll tell you this, despite Disney's best messaging, and they are really good at messaging, despite all of it, the company is down almost 10% in a single month. And at the same time, by the way, that they're down today, 2.5%, 3%, whatever it is at the moment, you've got their main competitors, Amazon, Netflix, Apple, all of them up significantly. Amazon is up 2%. Netflix is up almost 3% today. And of course, we're not even going to bring in YouTube, which decimates Disney in terms of ratings, but they won't count that because, well, that would make everyone look bad if they were compared to YouTube. Oh, hi, YouTube. Here we are. But Disney's competitors are sailing away while Disney is dropping. So the messaging, while it might convince some casual investors, does not seem to be resonating with those who are savvy and paying close attention.
Very true.
Hush up, everybody. Jesus, not at once.
I'm paying attention.
I'm slowing down. It was an early morning.
It was very early.
Doesn't sound like I really missed much.
No, you didn't. That's the point. I was amazed that Valiant Renegade was able to actually fill 3 hours worth of screen time, or of stream time rather, based on half an hour Q&A session. And I think that's kind of like also incredible that here you only have these select people who are able to ask questions that they have an hour to come up with, and then they arbitrarily decide 30 minutes and we're done. I think it's honestly quite amazing that these institutional shareholders even allow this kind of an earnings call to take place. Because if I was a Disney investor, I would have had huge issues with this whole presentation. But again, it underlies the point that these are the very shareholders who are, by default, big fans of what Bob Iger is doing. They supported him against Nelson Peltz, and you saw that in the questions as well. This time, there was not one tough question, was there, Pro? It was only softballs.
No, I mean, they kind of tickled on some issues that needed to be brought out. For example, why are you not projecting that your domestic parks are going to rebound? But they wouldn't ask it with a specificity. that would require Bob to get into numbers. And even when they were pressed to give some kind of numbers, you remember that CFO Hugh Johnson, folks, sorry on that one, it's not a joke, it's real. He said that they weren't going to talk about attendance, but he gave no reason why they weren't going to talk about attendance. We're not sure, except, well, maybe it wasn't good for them. But in particular, I think that these earnings calls, and maybe this is something that needs to happen across the board in corporate America. I know that the CEOs and the boards would not be in favor of this, but I think it's important for the viability of our economy. I think we need follow-up questions. These journalists need the opportunity, if they're even so willing, to ask something back instead of just letting the CEOs and CFOs pontificate. And that's what this has turned into. It's just political pontification. It's word salad without much meaning.
I agree completely with that, because because they ask a question,
tested for XY chromosomes.
Well, yeah, maybe the shareholders need that. I mean, Team Disney, if anything, they're clever for organizing it this way because it allows them to get away with literal murder in a sense.
Well,
anyway,
once Dana
exactly
becomes
right.
the CEO, Chato's got a point there. We'll have to see if they start checking for that, determining who can lay the beat down.
That's
Yeah,
right.
but that's a very good point. That you basically you have so many seconds to ask your question, and then they get to answer. And that answer, for the most part, is complete. Well, it's not. If it's not complete BS, very often it is besides the point of the original question, or the answer is dances around the nature of the question, if that makes sense.
These journalists could ask Bob Iger. They could say, "Hey, Bob, why is Burbank on fire?" And Bob would say, "You know, I'm glad you asked that question. Families enjoy the Walt Disney Company for all the magic that we bring, a legacy of history that you can greatly enjoy. We've brought great profits to all of our shareholders over the last 5 decades."
I think Iger needs to practice the Kamala cackle.
Oh, we need more cackling. You're right. And in time for
careful
Halloween.
what you ask for, because suddenly Dana Walden is CEO, and then you might get all the cackling that you could ever want.
He's buddies with Kamala. That's the inside track. They have been very close pals for a long time.
Yeah.
But still, I find it incredible that basically they're able to get away with such a BS politician's quibbling answer, as Proda exemplified just there, with no pushback, because there's no room for pushback, because the people asking the question, they cannot say, "You didn't answer the question." And whenever there is something that even tickles on a difficult topic, it's going to be just like that. Instead of like confronting it head on, they're going to dance around it, and no one has a means of calling them out on that, however frustrating it may be, even if someone wanted to by some kind of cosmic imbalance. Because again, these shareholders, they are fundamentally pro-Disney, they're pro-Iger. And you can tell in the questions, only softballs. And it's so frustrating.
Well, I have good news for you, though, Andre. This is good news for Mexican Iron Man as well. This year, just this year, Disney is up 1% with their stock.
Wow.
The bad news is they're down about 60% since March 12th of 2021. But up 1%, silver lining is always there.
Yeah. How are they doing right now?
Oh, down about 2.5 at the moment.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, the problem is that the institutional investors are trapped. They can't complain too much, because then their investment would go down.
Exactly.
And they can't pull out because they've invested too much. So in many ways, they have to support Disney, or at least give it, provide equilibrium for it, because they're trapped.
I have no sympathy with them. You know why?
No, I'm not asking you to have a sympathy. I'm just telling you that that's their motivation.
Well, then why didn't they support Nelson Peltz?
It's the big unknown.
In this particular case, I think that big unknown has a far better track record and a far better detailed strategy than does Bob Iger, whose strategy can be summed up as, "Trust me, bro."
Trust me, bro, Bob. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, part of the challenge is that they've got this sinecure in the Disney parks, which prevents them from making the bold decisions that they need to make.
I disagree with that because, and you see, like Bob Iger, he has been dancing around the right decisions again. He just hasn't committed to them all the way. He hasn't fully acknowledged the true root cause of their problems. Why there is a help me out. What exactly was the term there? Why there was like a modification in demand?
Oh, demand moderation. It's the new way that you say
moderation. Yeah,
it's the new way you say attendance sucked.
Yeah, they didn't say anything about the causes for this demand moderation, let alone what they're going to do about it.
Hold on, Andre. He had an explanation. He said, and you being
true.
European,
Let's talk
you might
about
be able to
this.
explain this to everybody.
Yes.
Andre, I was under the impression that when the Olympics come to a country, to a city, that people celebrate, that you have a big competition to get the Olympics to come to you because tourism follows and tons of cash flows in. And Disney said today that's not true. They said that Disneyland Paris is suffering because of the Olympics. Can you explain why the Olympics are harming Disney, perhaps even more than women boxers?
Well, let's begin with the generalities of the Olympics, because yeah, the host cities, they generally fight to have the Olympics in the first place because it's a huge boon for their economy. It's very expensive to prepare all of the infrastructure, but most of that money, that expense, is actually being left in the local economy. Because yeah, you have to pay a shit ton for new equipment, for new infrastructure, for hotels to feed to keep all of the tourists busy. You basically have to create a whole new infrastructure, facilities, and most of that money goes into the hands of the local workers. So this is the kind of investment that is actually good for the economy, certainly in the short term. And in the long term, the results are a little bit mixed, how long this influx of tourists lasts. But there's a massive influx of tourists. And those tourists, for the most part, they don't just come for the Olympics. They bugger out while they're there. They check out what else the host city has to offer of museums, restaurants, and all other kinds of attractions. And if there should happen to be, say, a nearby Disney park, then conventional wisdom says that this really should spike in attendance for something like the Olympics. That's kind of like the idea that when you bring in hundreds of thousands of additional tourists on top of those that otherwise would be there, it's gonna float all the boats. It's gonna float your local Disneylands. If that doesn't happen, that's very, very weird. That would be something of a first to me. And this was the excuse that was given for the lack of attendance in Disneyland Paris. Oh, it's because of the Olympics. No one is going because they're all home watching the Olympics. Well, I would be very curious to see the attendance of Park Asterix. Has the attendance gotten down there as well compared to last year?
I bet the Louvre is empty. I bet the Louvre is just absolutely barren. Nobody there.
Yeah, also the Louvre. How is the Louvre doing compared to this time last year? Notre Dame, the rebuilt one. Yeah, as far as excuses go, that was a real shitty one. And it's one that I wish that the shareholders would have called them out on, like, wait, this does not compute. This excuse isn't working at all.
And Bob would have said, well, folks, we'll just tell you, we appreciate the question, but Disney has a long legacy of wonderful magic memory making here at the company. And we go back to the legacy of Walt and what he had to say about the Olympics.
Yeah,
they're a grand sport. You would get this word salad that absolutely has no tangible connection with reality from this company. And that's the problem. And that's why the stock is suffering, because you can only message so much.
Well, I do want to mention that the Paraguayan swimmer this unbelievably attractive woman got kicked out of the Olympic Village because she went to Paris Disney World.
Probably because she didn't have an Adam's apple.
Well, you need to look her up. You need to post her picture.
Was she
Luana.
one of those that got sick after swimming in the Seine?
No. She just wasn't good enough. She didn't make it through her heats, but she's quite the Instagram model, and Hollywood would benefit hiring her immediatity. Luana Alonso, I think, is her name. And
Well, maybe a Disney can hire her, especially if she tried to attend one of their parks.
yeah.
She's attractive. She'll never work out. But
No,
she could be
yes,
a model
yes.
for a future Star Wars game in which the character will look nothing like her.
Exactly.
She's got a great future in
Good
that.
point. Good point.
So she went to Disney World. She was doing her piece
She
to
tried.
help the French economy, and she got trashed. Oh yeah, there she is.
All right, folks, that's the image that'll stay up for the rest of the day here on Midnight's Edge in the morning.
I hope that's a henna tattoo.
That's I don't know.
Well, after they kick you out, you really don't want to have the logo
Yeah,
of
that's
those
what
who
I mean.
removed you.
That
is definitely a chick.
Yes.
Yeah. There's no DNA test required.
I don't understand.
Although I would love to pat her down just to be sure.
I don't understand. The viewers are suddenly dropping like flies. What happened? I don't get it. I don't see the correlation here. Strange.
The viewers are going up, or they're going.
They're going up,
Ours
up.
actually went up there.
I was just saying she was doing her part, and she got kicked out of the Olympic Village for it. So what can you do?
Just while we're on the Olympics, just real quick before we continue with the earnings call, who is that dude fighting in the finale of the female boxing? That other dude?
Probably the
Because
other
there's
dude.
2 men in there. Is it the 2 men that will be fighting each other? In the
I
finale
believe
of
so.
female
Different
boxing?
weight classes.
Oh, are they? Well, that's just too
Oh, okay. Oh, that's Well, that means that you still can have 2 men winning gold in 2 different weight classes for female boxing.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. I'm getting gold in the Olympics. You women can't be half the woman I can be. Thanks, South Park.
Exactly. Yeah. Any final thoughts on the Disney earnings call, or the Disney very controlled Q&A session, to the extent of which it even can be called that? Culture, any final observations?
No, you guys have covered it.
Well, my question is, these are smart people on both sides of the fence. Everyone knows what's going on. So this is why my theory of the institutional investors just want kind of a peace, equilibrium, right? They'd like it to go up, they'd like it to be run better, but they're also afraid of it plummeting, and so they accept this absolute sham of a presentation. I mean, it doesn't give me much confidence in the financial markets if people who purport to be experts in these fields are willing to accept this nonsense.
Well, did you see something happening in the markets yesterday, mayhap?
Like Disney going down?
No, like the entire world stock
Oh, yeah.
market crashing worse than the last 40 years.
Yep, starting with the Nikkei.
Yeah, that would be because we have brilliant minds like these running that show.
Well, I mean, we
So
know
you were
who's-
right not to have much faith in the financial institutions or the people who run them or operate in them.
right, and
Well, I
we
can-
know it's, they get first crack at all sorts of stock options and things like that. Anything that's open to the general public, that's already too late. The pigs have finished off the food in the trough.
Well,
I mean,
I can surmise what Disney is thinking, and very swiftly. I think what Disney leadership, what their hope is that they can silently and gently move the entertainment divisions sort of back to the center a little bit, so soft left but not hard left, and that they can do that quietly over the next year or two to try to get all of their stuff going, because until that happens truly with entertainment, all of their ecosystems are are going to be starved of the kindling that they need. So they're trying to do that without saying that they were wrong, without, taking a side, but secretly behind the scenes taking a side softly. And then the other thing, and this is the mistake. So that's probably, although I don't agree, with what they did, that's probably the right financial decision, what I just described. The wrong financial decision that they seem to be making is that they are investing heavily into the Chinese theme parks and not investing heavily into the theme park that drives 1/3 of all of their profits. So Disney World and to a lesser extent Disneyland really not getting the kind of capex that they need, and all that money's going to China or to the cruises. Cruises fine, China not. That's the mistake, I think. So it
So
wasn't the
basically
worst thing ever. Yeah, go ahead, Tom.
I was gonna say, so basically they're putting money into the park that could be taken away from them at any time.
They're obsessed with they believe that the Chinese middle class will explode, and they believe that China will moderate over time and it'll be a safe market for them. I think that's a huge bet, and I'm not sure I would take that risk.
I have a theory on that. All of these investments that they're doing in China, how much of that investment actually goes to upgrades of the park, and how much goes to various expenses to the CCP and the lead people in it to ensure a good continued relationship with China, so they do not actually take those parks just yet?
I don't like what you're threatening there, Andre.
Well,
So
I think the CCP may be the ones doing the threatening more so than me.
I think if you step back and you look at Disney in comparison to its peers today, after this earnings call, you'll notice that they're the only ones headed the wrong direction.
Exactly.
Yeah, everyone else is rebounding after the massive crash yesterday, whereas
And
Disney are
the
not.
day before, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you, Andre, but like I said, I always like to do that. I like to take a snapshot of the bigger picture because I think it helps to give you perspective. And
Indeed.
right now we're seeing a trading volume more than double what it normally would be at this point in the day, which tells you that there's a lot of investors that are getting out of Disney, and there's a lot of institutions that are trying to artificially prop it up. That's what's happening. And this has been happening in the last several days, actually. It's just today is more telling because it's an earnings call day, and what you heard wasn't anything that would make you excited to be investing in Disney. They don't have anything to offer, and Pro already mentioned that all they're going to talk about is blue sky when it comes to the Destination D23 Expo, which those are two different events, but they're held every other year in different coasts. It's just this is the biggest fan event Disney has to offer. They have nothing to announce. They already promoted their movie slate and gave away the game at Comic-Con. What are they going to talk about, Pro? I mean, seriously.
Well, there is D23 this weekend.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They don't have anything to present.
But culture has made a point that we do not need to miss, and that is the trade volume.
Yeah.
And the reason that's so important is because when culture says that the trade volume suggests that there are people out there trying to prevent the stock from dropping significantly, why would they be doing that? Well, if the stock drops, what have we already been told will happen? Ike Perlmutter will get back in. He will have sold high and he will buy back in. And if Ike Perlmutter is buying back in, it's not a 100% thing, but they've got to be worried that Nelson Peltz or Elon Musk is going to start buying up the Disney stock if it drops. And oh, by the way, talking about that Hulu purchase they've got to make. Okay, so this is like 3, 4, 5 reasons that the major institutions don't want this stock to drop right now. If the stock continues to drop, if Disney's going to use any of this stock to purchase Hulu, this gets incredibly expensive for Bob Iger and the rest of the crew at the House of Mouse.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, and you're literally, can you imagine, Pro, or anybody on this panel, Andre, can you imagine handing your enemy, a giant chunk of stock, 5 billion, 6 billion, 7 billion in stock, especially when it's at its most depressed point, which, to be fair, that could be coming up pretty soon. Look, I'm not giving stock advice. None of us are. We're talking about this and analyzing it. We're not giving you advice. Don't listen to YouTubers for advice.
Oh, no. I would recommend buying into Jake Paul crypto coin.
Culture,
I gotta say real quick.
Culture, do you think that at Epic Universe, the giant theme park opening in Central Florida, just across the way from Disney World, and highly anticipated, going to come on the market next year, do you think that Epic Universe should have a giant sign in the front that says "Built by Hulu"?
Oh, wow. Yeah, they actually could. In fact, they could probably leave that sign up for several years as they continue to expand. I'm not
Well, I
kidding.
mean, if you're Comcast, do you want to be paid in Disney?
Yes.
In Disney stock?
Yes, you want a piece of the company. And the
No,
bigger
but I
piece,
mean, you don't want it plummeting. You want it at its lowest level.
and that's where it's headed. Look, I've said for a while, and again, no advice, but I've said for a while that this stock deserves, based on its performance and its value, to be somewhere between $68 and $74 a share. The company's been mismanaged so poorly. That's where I would place its actual book value. Although its book value would be higher because of the real estate holdings, but there's that.
Tom, you were saying?
Yes.
I don't even remember anymore. All I know is Six sent me something here about this Olympic chick. So basically, she was removed from the Olympics because she was a distraction. So the dudes beating up the chicks wasn't a distraction. A hot chick taking pictures at Disneyland was.
So she was a distraction because she went to Disneyland, or because she was too hot to look at, like not having like a bulge in her bikini.
That's why she had to be removed from this show. That's why she was taken off the screen. It was
the answer to those questions, both of them, is yes.
I do believe that Dylan Mulvaney tried to like normalize the bulge or something because he was sporting one. So
it's because he didn't go through with it. That's another thing. If these some bitches are gonna act the part, they better go through with it.
I made this joke before. I'll make it again because I love it so much. I just feel sorry for Electronic Arts or whoever it is that has to make the Olympics game this year for all those consoles and PCs. Because for women's boxing, they're going to have to program in bulge physics, and that's just sad.
Actually, I don't feel sorry for them. If you have the right people, that's going to be so much fun. You can have such an incredibly...
Are you kidding me?
They've
had nothing but practice for the last few years. That's all they've done is make women look like men. Sorry, Andre. I just had to say
it's going to be so much fun. And also for like the swimming and the Seine, you can have like after the heat
vomit meter,
have them come and throw up, and even before you can have like the local population poop into the river, because actually it was such a campaign. I kid you not, there was like a campaign of like some activists that wanted to organize.
That's what
like,
players 2, 3, and 4 do. They type as fast as
poop in the river.
The players 2, 3, and 4 hit the A button as hard as they can to get that poop down the sign.
Exactly. You see, there is so much fun you can do in such a game. I mean, with a clever game designer, the Paris Olympics games can be one of the best games ever. Can be exactly what the game industry needs right now, what EA needs right now. But of course, you have to go a little bit tongue in cheek and just really ramp it up, and you can have some fun with.
It's like Frogger. It's like Frogger, but you're dodging the logs.
Yeah, exactly. Not to say nothing of the female boxing, where you can select your player with the bulk size and everything.
Yes, but the chest hair sliders are great.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you could have so much fun with that. So yeah.
Oh, that was fun.
We have a couple of super chats, but rounding out the Disney earnings. I think this was a really manipulative affair in a really nasty way, as you were alluding to here with Pro, where they remind me again. What did I say about like modification of demand or demand modification?
Demand moderation.
Moderation.
Translated into English, attendance sucks.
Yeah. I mean, to me, that's I made that analogy before on Valiant stream. That kind of like reading official statements from the Church of Scientology, which had invested the church hadn't. It had convinced its members and its donors to shell out billions to buy all of these amazing buildings all around the world and refurnishing them so that people would be attracted to these amazing buildings and flock to Scientology, making the whole thing grow and everything. And it didn't work. I mean, they spent all that money for nothing. And so they had to try to find ways of excusing that. And they used all of these fancy word rewrites. I mean, it was a marvel to behold how they were able to maneuver the English language into saying things it was never designed to say. And reading this statement reminded me a little bit about that. Even,
I
for
can totally
instance,
understand.
when they even said that there will be several quarters of basically bad earnings. Several quarters? What does that mean? Do you expect it to be fine by next summer? Are we talking years here? They didn't say anything. They
Hey,
just left that blank.
they left a lot of things blank. And hey, when your CFO is not too wound up about it and is able to go on and play defense on Squawk Box or some other politically driven financial show on CNBC or some such, that they know that the worst is yet to come. I anticipate that they're going to not only take a hit from Epic Universe, as Pro was suggesting, to the tune of probably 25% of total attendance in Florida.
Woo.
I think that you're going to further see that that not only will they be surpassed by a broadband communications company studio that has a few theme parks. I think they may possibly lose number one theme park in the world. I think that will then be Epic Universe, and I think we're going to see attendance records set for a new park that we've never seen before.
And
And
that's
I
awesome.
do believe that Universal are building a park in Madrid, aren't they?
And the UK. Well,
And
they're
the
in a
UK.
partnership with Spain. I don't remember exactly which city it's
right.
in.
It's right near that Aqua something or another park, or it's right by there. It's the same.
Is that near
region.
Barcelona though? I can't remember. Sorry for all my Castellano speakers out there. Barcelona. But I will say I learned something. I learned something today, Andre.
It's gonna take tourists away from Disneyland Paris, because here's kind of like the thing in Europe. These places are just hours apart.
Man, they are.
And tourists from the rest of Europe are going to be like, are we going to go to Disneyland Paris? It's not a real Disneyland anyway, since Disneyland has nothing to do in Paris. Or are we going to try and check out this Universal thing? We hear good things about that. And if we do check out Paris, maybe we'll go to Park Asterix instead.
That's why I always laugh when Brits say that Americans don't travel abroad. And it's, the Brit has been to France, and it's like, well, that's sort of like in America, someone from New Jersey going to Pennsylvania. It's really not that grand of a thing.
No.
But I learned something from Disney in the earnings call today. I have learned how to make magic with the English language. So should my wife later today say to me that I look like I've gained any weight at all, I'm going to say, no, honey, that is, how shall we say it? That is moderated gravital increase.
There you go.
And I'm just going to smile and walk away.
Moderated demand.
Yeah.
Today was ridiculous. And in watching Valiant and you guys cover it this morning, I was like, yep, that was my feeling too. And I'm watching the downward pressure on the stock again, going down another, right now it's sticking around 3%. But you have to remember, at a point in time earlier, they were down at 86. I think they could actually make it down into the 86 level today if people are actually paying attention to what was, or more specifically, what wasn't said in response to the questions that have been answered. Right now, we're sitting at 87.10, and it's bouncing up and down. But in the last 5 days, the stock alone has gone down 6%.
Culture, the stock has been unburdened by what has been.
That's true. Yeah, just like we have all been unburdened from our finances in the last few years. So I understand that, which is another reason attendance is dropping at Disney. They have now priced themselves out of not only the lowly middle class, but you have the rich people who have been there, done that so many times. They are no longer interested. So you are now, for the few people that are making their lifetime trip pilgrimage to Disney World, the number one theme park destination in the globe, you have to bilk as much money as you possibly can out of them, and then you're pricing yourself into a category that, I mean, who wants to go back to Disney? I don't.
I'm very glad that I went to Disney World in the 90s here.
Yeah.
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 And let's see if our second guest or still a second special guest of today has something to say about the Disney earnings call. It's my pleasure to welcome George the Giant Slayer.
How you doing, my friend?
Doing good. Glad to have you here.
Always glad to be here. Thank you for having me on. Hey, Culture, Tom,
Hey, sir.
Poe, Chato.
Hey.
No, correct me if I'm wrong. If you bought stock 3 years ago in Disney, you've lost pretty much almost half your ass by today.
Correct.
More.
Oh, okay. More?
60%. It was up at around 197 today. It's down at 87 at the moment, somewhere around there, 88. So yeah.
So you've lost, wow, some even more than I thought. So 60%. And what happened 3 years ago? The company went full on woke. I mean, that pretty much describes everything. Plus now you have the parks are softening. See, I understand. I always love listening to Valiant and Pro. And they always say it, the money is made in the parks. But I still believe that Disney Studios represents the spirit of Disney. It's the connective tissue that people engage with. You know, they connect it, TV shows, movies, entertainment. Most people don't think, oh, you know, Disney cruises, Disney parks. Some do. But when you think of Disney, what is Disney? Oh, you know, Cinderella, Snow White, Marvels, blah, 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 Indiana Jones, Star Wars. So as long as the studio will continue to corrupt everything that they create, it's going to poison the entire brand.
Right. It's the fuel tank of the company. So if you stop putting the right kind of fuel in the vehicle, it won't be able to continue to run. That's what the parks are doing right now, because there's no new IP outside of the movies that we're getting right now. But for the past 3 or 4 years, you're exactly right. They went woke, and there hasn't been fuel to get the guests to want to go see these things implemented in the parks.
Right. I just think it's in this case, because the parks, I don't know the exact revenue of the parks versus the studio, but it's exponential. It's monumental, correct? It's like the money that the studio makes, the movies make, and the TV shows make is a blip on their financial bottom line, correct? In comparison to the parks? Okay. Except here, what's happening is, again, the tail wagging the dog. I think that's why they've always needed to course correct at the studio first. And now, 3 weeks ago, I know it wasn't a big story, but do you remember the animated show? I saw it when I was 10 and 14, Country Bear Jamboree.
Yeah.
Well, they got rid of, what was it? I can never say
Liver
it.
lips.
Liver lips.
Yeah.
I mean, getting rid of liver lips, I was looking up online, Reddit and other places, and I didn't realize how many people were pissed off, that their feelings were hurt. Just because you had someone at their HR or DEI who was like, we think it's insensitive to have a drunk bear. It's not appropriate for the times and the new Disney that we are. I mean, that shows, again, what's wrong with them.
Well, George, if you stop finding things that are offensive, and your job is to find things that are offensive, then they'll cut your position next. So they'll always find something that they'll tell you in hindsight was the worst thing ever and just could not stay there one more day, even though there was never a complaint for the decades it was in.
Correct.
Are you trying to tell me that Winnie the Pooh isn't constantly stoned? Bull crap. Stoner munchies when I see it.
Can I say that
found me out.
when I took my 3-year-old daughter to
munch on.
to Disney World, I had to go see Bear Jamboree 5 times.
Yeah,
Well,
it was a great show.
At least it wasn't Small World.
Yeah, and one of the good things about the Bear Jamboree show is that was one of the things that didn't have a constant lineup, but she loved it, and it was an enjoyable show. And again, I took no offense.
Yeah, of course. Who would take offense? It's a show. It's a drunk bear. I mean, how many comedians have played drunks as part of their routine?
Well,
it's
Foster Brooks. I mean, I was offended by the one bear wearing the keffiyeh, but that's fine. I decided not to. I didn't say anything about it.
I mean, if Dean Martin were around today, they'd cancel him.
Oh yeah, he played fake drunk.
Oh, I thought he was really drunk.
No, No, he did fake drunk. That was part of his shtick. But Foster Brooks actually stopped because he realized at some point it was, you just can't do it, and society, you can't. But on the other hand, it's just an animatronic bear.
I know it's an animatronic, but it goes back to my definition of woke for Hollywood has always been, a system of beliefs that allow losers to feel good and to feel like winners so few can control the many. That's what I've been trying to define it for a while. And when you allow a process like that to come into place, especially in the company, where the hell is the work getting done? It's like you're supposed to entertain people, not cater to inside radicals at the corporation. Entertain people. It's a simple
You
concept.
guys have it all wrong, though. That bear was not removed because he was offending people. That bear was removed because he was putting a bad light on booze. And they can't have that when they're trying to get people drunk at Epcot. That's money, baby.
Yeah. I really would like to know how much they lost on their whole Star Wars Galaxy fiasco.
Oh, it'd be frightening.
And how
I
many
bet
more
that
of
the investors would like to know that as well, but they'll never find out.
Can someone tell me, is the Indiana Jones theatrical thing still there? Where
Still there.
He's got the plane that he has.
Show is shortened, but it's still there.
Yeah, and it was that was supposed to be one of the things that got impacted by the real design of the Star Wars area, and we were supposed to get expanded Pixar area, and instead of going the direction, and we were also supposed to have a not so locked in area that would have been more open to expansion at the Hollywood Park.
Culture, they could not tear that down because of what a big deal Dial of Destiny was going to be. What a foolish financial decision that would have been to tear that theater down.
Yeah, that it wasn't even on the. They weren't even going to do. They hadn't even decided to do the film yet.
It's either that or you get a giant Kathleen Kennedy homage museum in that spot. So you take your poison there, Culture.
The only thing of value you would have lost in that situation would have been possibly the Muppets.
I, for one, look forward to Kathleen Kennedy land. I can't wait.
There has to be some impact that they have not been but providing renewal through new IP, either through purchase or whatever. Because again, going back to when I was with my daughter at 3, we were there when you had the Main Street Parade, which is always a highlight, and you had Pixar character, you had Lightyear and Bug's Life, and along with the usual Disney princesses and things like that. But you had the Henson characters. I mean, it was just really fun. I'm wondering, who do they have in their Main Street Parade now, apart from drag queens?
Drag queen. I was about to
drag queens. Well, here's the other thing too. Is look, I've been starting to think about this. I know part of the reason they tore down Magic, the ride over there at not Magic Kingdom, Splash Mountain, is because of the whole connection with Song of the South and such. But not only that, think about it for a minute. Song of the South's copyright is only going to be good for like another 15 years. A lot of these other characters, they're going to be going into the public domain in the next 10 years or so. That's probably another reason why they're not concentrating so much on
it. They're afraid, Tom. They're afraid that somebody's going to open their own version of Splash Mountain. Is that?
No, they're just, they don't have any real, there's no incentive to keep them around anymore.
Oh, Splash Mountain. I thought they were tearing down Slash Mountain because they were against Guns N' Roses.
We all are.
That made sense.
But I can tell you why they wouldn't want it, though, because imagine Song of South is no longer bound by copyright. It's public domain. Anyone can now go and monetize, or basically
in about 10, 15 years, yeah.
Yeah, they can release the movie. They can do their own versions of Brother Bear and Brother Rabbit and stuff like that. They may not necessarily want to do their own Splash Mountain, but they can use Splash Mountain, or they can basically use the fame of Splash Mountain to monetize something that Disney.
Well, you know what? I
chose
think it
not
was
to
extremely
monetize.
short-sighted, because if they had left it up, then they could have been part of then reparations money from California.
I'm sorry, I thought it come out in the 30s. It was the 40s, so it's going to be another like 10 years
Well,
or so after
Yeah,
that. But still,
and that's my point is there was no reason to tear it down for any reason.
No, there isn't.
If you've seen Song of the South and you understand the story and everything that all of that is based on, it isn't what they claim.
No,
And
no.
no.
ultra
Otherwise, it's they're
anti-woke.
trying to, and I've said this before, and we all have. They're just trying to erase Walt's legacy.
Well, it's
Right,
the first.
well-
It's the movie that got a black man the first Oscar.
Oscar.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
so I mean,
we've
they're trying to
we've
erase
talked about it.
history. Yeah,
It's not just that though. It's Mickey. It's everything. Everything that has anything to do with Walt. Like, they've even taken the Walt out of Disney now in the logo. I think so. Like, at this
Then why
soon
point,
they'll give you paint that you can throw on the Walt statues inside the parks in protest. You only have to pay $15 for the bucket.
they'll tear down the.
But then why doesn't his granddaughter, is it his great-granddaughter or his granddaughter? Why doesn't she protest against it?
Oh, I can tell you
she's
that.
all in
She's
on the woke
crazy.
shit.
Yeah,
I know,
Abigail.
okay, she can be in on the woke shit. That's
She
her-
probably hates her own grandfather. She probably would.
She does.
She'd probably put half
Her-
that rumor bullshit out there.
She's a rich woman.
Great uncle.
She's a rich,
Here's-
angry
here's
woman.
Something from an outsider perspective that Disney has had, which no other theme park can have. And what they're doing is tearing this down. And I don't think they realize how it, I think, hurts the park. In that, in many ways, Disney World was a time capsule of an America a long time ago.
Yes.
Universal is fine, but sometimes it feels way too shiny and new. And
I
the
could see that.
charm of Disney World was, Song of the South, the Jamboree, Appalachian stuff. These are not things that you would come up with now. Now you're coming up with more.
Mao Zedong Appreciation Museum.
Yeah, well, also more sterilized stuff that, preserving what Disney had. Even Main Street USA, as a Canadian, I've talked about this before, this felt like what Disney thought America should look like, and parts of America did look like.
It's
at the time.
very Andy Griffith in that way.
Yes.
Shadow, you're exactly right.
That's my point, is the charm of Disney World was foreigners, myself, coming in there and seeing the Andy Griffith world of Disney World.
Yeah.
I don't think they realize that that's actually an attraction.
Hey, Leave It to Beaver kind of like thing. That's
Correct.
the life that most people used to aspire to. They thought it was the bedrock of our society, that the foundation.
It's way
Like walking
better
into a
now
Norman
that
Rockwell
60%
painting.
Of all, it's way better now that 60% of all men under 30 don't want to get married. It is way better now. Like,
But in looking at that, and again, it's seeing it from your outside perspective, you literally
Can
can
you
walk
blame
into
us?
multiple ages by going on something like Carousel of Progress.
yeah,
You actually can see, the development of America. And, Main Street, you're stepping back into Marceline. And you're walking through the point in time at the turn of that century.
Right.
Of course, we've
But you're
turned another
seeing
century.
Main Street from the eyes of a child. That's the point of it. That's what Paul's
Yeah.
talking about.
That's
It's
exactly
made in
right.
the way
Well,
a
a
child
shooting
would see
gallery.
Main Street without the
The
ugly
sh-
parts.
The shooting gallery in Frontierland. I mean, as you go around this park, you even as an adult, that nostalgia. You're in mourning of time gone by. That's what basically what nostalgia is. So you get that little pang of regret that we're well beyond this time, but at the same time, you're overjoyed because it can still be celebrated and seen here. And that's what all of these things were, including Splash Mountain. I have to tell you, there are not a lot of attractions that are being built now that inspire you with its art design, its music, its lighting, its attention to detail, history, indeed. No, there is nothing that modern Disney is building, and probably I would say since the 80s, back when they built out Epcot, there is nothing they're building now that gives you that same sense of nostalgia.
Right.
I mean,
I don't know what you call it, but I remember I don't know what the names was. I remember my two favorites was you got to go on the Captain Nemo submarine. That was one of them.
Yeah.
Nautilus.
They tore that down too. The Nautilus.
20,000 Leagues.
I love that. And then the other
Changed
one
it to
was
Nemo.
it was like a cowboy shootout, and the cowboy, after they were done, they'd hand the kids the
that was at the Golden Horseshoe Review. They would have a mock.
I wonder if
well,
they can do that because of their stance on guns.
I hate to jump in here, but we do got to get to some of these member super chats here. Matthew W sends in a member chat for 33 months, says if Kennedy is waiting for a win to leave Lucas, she's never going to leave.
Yeah, during the backstage conversation before the show started, I said, well, she's going to die there.
I never thought I'd say this, gentlemen. We're going to have to help Kathy.
No.
We're going to have to watch Star Wars.
No.
At some point, I mean, there has bound to be a point where they've had enough. I mean, if she gets another failure with a movie, will that not be enough? I mean, there has to be a line somewhere.
No. Apparently not.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
No, and this goes actually along.
Save this one for the next main topic after the earnings talk here, so we'll get back to that.
Well, I just want to address it real quick by saying, this kind of goes along with the video we addressed with Vince Vaughn the other day, and I said, keep what he's saying in mind when you think about people like Kurtzman. Same can apply to Kathleen Kennedy. She is going by the rules that the company gave her to go by. So she cannot be blamed for any of this.
Of course, she's the boss of Lucasfilm.
Doesn't matter.
The buck stops with the boss,
Doesn't matter anymore. That's not how producers work.
Filoni, he's going to take the blame on this one.
Yeah, somebody else will. Yeah, it's not her fault. She's the boss. See, that's not how executives work in Hollywood anymore.
Yeah. And on that note, we only have Pro for a limited time here. So actually, let's get into this right away, since we already started talking about it. What this member chat from Matthew W is in reference to is this story right here from that park place, originating from an interview with WDW Pro, who was able to drag this out of Chris Gore, here kicking and screaming, that Kathleen Kennedy is ready to retire, but she won't do so until she has a big win, which means that she's going to survive us all and she's never going to leave that company, because that's never going to happen.
It's like she's a cockroach.
Well, if she waits on a win, she's going to be dining on champagne flavored Jell-O in the Lucasfilm nursing home assisted living. So we really want to help this lady leave. But the way this came about, I was talking with Chris Gore about D23, and as we were talking about the lack of anything, Star Wars at D23, this giant Disney convention, we were kind of laughing at the little booths they were saying they would have. I mentioned to him that I had heard that Kathleen Kennedy is basically not in San Francisco anymore, that she's not at Lucasfilm. They'd never see her, that she's in Los Angeles. And I said, have you heard anything similar, Chris? And that's when he dropped this bomb that indeed he had been hearing said rumor, and that Kathy wants to retire. She's ready to retire. She's 71. She wants out, but she wants to go out in a good way. And by the way, that lines right up with what we've been reporting in the past, that she wants to go out with awards. She wants to be up there on the stage. And so what Chris is suggesting is, had Indiana Jones the Dial of Destiny done well, Kathy might already be gone. If the Acolyte had performed well, Kathy might already be gone. We're waiting on Kathy to get a win. Wins are not coming for Kathy. And that's why we're still stuck with her. But it seems like, gentlemen, that Dave Filoni is largely in charge of the day-to-day overview, the aerial view of Lucasfilm at this point. And I think that's to set him up to be the fall guy as time goes on. He's not a strong personality. He doesn't have the gumption or the ability even to kick back and push back on people like Leslie Headland. And that means that garbage gets made underneath him. He's shown with Ahsoka that he really doesn't have the ability to make high-quality live action either. And so eventually, the man in the cowboy hat is going to be the one who takes the fall, I believe. And Kathy will get to say, oh, look how much money I made at the box office. And the official narrative will be put out, and it'll be poor Dave Filoni who goes down with the witches.
Wait a minute. If she does well at the box office, how does he go down?
Well, they'll claim that the sequel trilogy earned so much money, blah, 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 blah. And it'll be in all the stories about how much Star Wars earned under Kathy. and they'll just ignore the last few years.
I got you. But if she does get a win, wouldn't she say, "Look what I've done. I can do it again"?
That's the
I don't
risk.
think at this stage. I think she's ready to fade out. She would probably like to spend time with Frank Marshall, work on their own things. They've got their own company that they do on the side, and I think that's what she's interested at this point. I don't think she's ever been interested in Star Wars per se. She was interested in the power of the prestige of being a studio head, not necessarily in a galaxy far, far away. She's similar to Leslie Headland. You know, when they get asked, what's your favorite Star Wars? The answer is
Yes.
all of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
That or the Wrath of Khan.
Well,
Yeah.
and I mean, you know, I trust that you know, Chris believes his source, but I'm not so sure I believe this wholeheartedly. I mean, I believe a lot of the other stuff that's been coming out because I've been hearing a lot of the same stuff. You know, that the company's shifting a bit. Marvel is definitely trying to right the ship for better or worse. But as far as Kathy leaving anytime soon, I don't know. I just don't know if I buy it.
She's so persistent that Tom cannot believe it any longer. There have been so many rumors.
I think she'll be there as long. By the time she leaves, she'll look like the Crypt Keeper.
I mean, is it just ego? She obviously, it's not for money at this point.
Oh no,
of
yeah,
course
it's totally ego.
She has all the money in the world.
Yeah.
So then,
got-
really, if she wants a success, follow the old formula: get your success and get the fuck out.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, Culture has to be leaving us. But before you
Okay,
do
Culture,
that,
get the fuck out.
before you do that, Culture, any thoughts on this? I mean, what project does Disney have in the pipeline that could possibly be this big win that she can claim credit for? Could it be the Mando and Grogu movie?
No, I don't think that's going to be successful at all if it gets made. And you know what? Crickets is right. I can't imagine one of the upcoming Star Wars
Jedi
efforts.
Order.
Yeah, I really don't think that the new Daisy Ridley film will be very successful if it gets made. In fact, it's already designed to turn off men. So, you know, so I mean, who's your main audience? It's like anytime somebody tells me, well, you know, video games, and more women are involved in video games. I'm like, if you're talking about handheld phone games, sure. Yes, true. But when it comes to, you know, consoles and computers and things like that, you are lying. It's still 80% male. When you talk about other things, oh, wait, moving into my new office in Malta?
This is why I don't think she's ready to leave the industry, because Frankie's busy as piss.
Yeah.
And you really think Frank wants to start working with her? This walking
No.
disaster that's going to ruin
No,
everything?
and that's
No.
just it. If somebody's getting close to retirement, both the husband and wife usually try to do it about the same time, right? He's not. They just they're starting a brand new Jurassic trilogy. He just had Twisters, right? So I don't think he's slowing down anytime soon. At least that's my opinion. So if he's not slowing down, I don't think she is. Now, I have predicted once she leaves Star Wars, she will probably want to do more personal stories, like maybe Milk Money 2 or something like that. Who knows? But yeah, no, I'm just kidding.
Well, hey, here's a thought. See what you think about this, Tom. One of the things that I've heard is that she basically isn't around the Lucasfilm campus anymore. So she may be entitled the head of Lucasfilm, but she's really not engaged in the day-to-day. So does that sort of make sense why she might be ready to retire, but it's not a big deal if it takes a while? Because
Then
she's
again-
not really stressed with this thing?
Well, Six sent me that post, even though I follow Frankie. Of course I do. Because sooner or later, he's got to know that I exist. But basically, that puts them on opposite coasts unless she's out there with him. But she hasn't been producing like Twisters and stuff with him, right? Like they haven't been a producing team anymore since she's been taking on Star Wars, as far as I know. The only movie that they've done
bet she can't be
together
credited.
technically was Indiana Jones.
I bet she
If he
can't be
doesn't wanna-
credited because she'd be with a competing studio, right? As the head of Lucasfilm, she can't be on the...
I'd imagine, even though she's technically part of Emblem too. I don't know if Culture can address that at all because he's got to go, but yeah.
I couldn't even begin to answer that question. Would she
They
still get
go.
credit?
Culture, why are you here? Seriously, what do we pay you for?
Put a chick in it, make her gay.
That's
Bye, everybody.
right. Thank you.
Check out that Game Place live later today, coming up in just under 2 hours. In fact, a couple hours of wonderful gaming news, views, reviews, and conversations about, well, Probably not Disney. So come and check us out. Should be a good time. Check out my channel. I appreciate it. And check out beachpunk.com.
Beach
That's right.
Punk.
Hey, Coates, could you review the Olympic Games video game coming out on that game place, Dodging the Logs of the Sign? Can you cover that?
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to the Bulge event in the pole vaulting. I gotta
Battle
go.
of the Bulge.
Have a great day, Culture.
Take care.
I've been wanting to ask real quick. I know y'all probably already covered this, but I'm curious how come Disney was complaining about. Did I hear it right? Did they complain about the Olympics like that impacted the parks?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was like, usually when you get those events, they bring more tourists inside.
I'm glad we think alike. I'm so glad we think alike.
Which
And
is
it's
sad
like-
because I think they were actually part of the '92 Olympics, but yeah.
But how does anybody swallow that? Like, did their board members or the other shareholders go, yeah?
Well, here's the
that
beauty.
makes-
They do not have the opportunity to answer to Disney's answers. Like there's no follow-up questions or something. So that's just a record. That's now the official narrative that all of the trades are going to go with. Do any of them internally believe it? No. But they don't have to, because the media is going to run with it. Oh, like the attendance in the parks is low, but it's just because of the Olympics. When the Olympics is over, everything is going to be fine. And no one is going to fact check us on that later, because then the news cycle will have moved on. And that's the whole game. They just gave an answer for right now in this moment that the media will run with and give them temporary cover until they can come up with the next bullshit excuse.
And next year when there are no Olympics, another
Oh,
excuse.
then they'll think of something else. It's too hot, it's too cold,
Dang hot.
too rainy, or too
Climate
windy.
change.
Wow.
Well, I mean, Paris and France just went through an election, and it was hotly contested, and Paris was set on fire in multiple places, and
Oh, it's still burning, actually.
yeah, there are a lot of people decided not to go to the Olympics this year because of all the violence that was taking place.
I
Well,
think
if
there's
Disney
more
if they had
reasons.
said it that way, I would have respected it. If they had said due to violence in France, Disneyland Paris is lower attendance. That would have
But I
been
can
something.
understand why they wouldn't say that, Pro.
Well,
because
yeah, absolutely.
They
Yeah.
don't want future people to stay out of Paris. It
Yeah.
doesn't benefit them.
But it's fun to hear it put like in what they're really saying, and you nailed it with that.
Yeah. So yeah, a lot of people decided not to come to the Olympics because of what was happening, which I can fully understand.
But I do believe that the opening ceremony also put a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Pro, I do believe that you also had a story on the Olympics ratings. They weren't, shall we say, too impressive.
Oh, so I think there's a giant gaslighting operation across the media to trick you on the Olympic ratings. This was an exclusive on the channel, and this, I normally don't complain about anything regarding YouTube. I just know how the game is played. But a number of my Olympics videos garnered 200,000 plus views.
Yeah,
And
you
this
did amazing
video-
with those.
This video opened up the biggest video I had on the Olympics, and then let's just say it looked like a hockey stick for views. It went horizontal and went flat. So I think somebody said enough of that. But the exclusive on it is that so Nielsen in 2021, they began taking into account bars and airports and public spaces, doctors' offices, etc., for sporting ratings. Okay, so for sports event ratings. And so they're saying that this year, the Olympics, they're 70% above what they were for the 2021, which was really 20, but got backed up, Summer Olympics in Tokyo. What we discovered was, though, that there's an article out there that claims that NBC, if in the best case scenario, and this was after the uptick that we're supposed to believe in, that the best case scenario for NBC is that they will break even with the Olympics, what they paid to get the Olympics versus what their advertising will bring in. And so when I saw that, I got a hold of John Trent, the editor-in-chief of thatparkplace.com and host of the Trent Report, and I said, John, help me make sense of this. How can you be up 70%? And oh, by the way, that's going to put it on par with the big Olympics of the past, some of the record-breaking Olympics. How can you have that, and NBC is only going to break even in the best case scenario with advertising? And so we began to look into it, and we began to realize, oh, wait a minute. they're changing a number of ways that they're ranking the views. And oh, by the way, because in the last Olympics, many of the bars were not open and people were not getting to go into restaurants with the capacity. What they're doing, it appears to us, is they're taking this sort of baked in now equation, this calculus that all of the bars and all of the airports and all of the doctors' offices, they're all playing the Olympics and there's a lot of people there, and boom, there's where the ratings are coming from that are boosting this thing up. But that doesn't change the monetary equation for the ads. And so that's what we covered. And in large part, what I think is happening is I think that the gaslighting about the ratings, I think it's due to a need to cover up how badly the Last Supper pastiche parody, I shouldn't say pastiche, just parody. The Last Supper parody injured the Olympics, as well as some of the other stuff that was happening in the opening ceremonies, and then the women boxing, and now with the young woman that we saw on the screen who's been removed. All of these things are adding up, I think, to damage the ratings, and they can't allow you to know that. And so that, I think, is what's happening across the news organizations. Most people probably covering it don't understand, because it only takes a few articles to come out and make one claim, and then everybody runs with it because they don't have any kind of critical thinking skills. But this is half an hour to look into it.
No,
you have to remember that for a journalist, having critical thinking skills is very dangerous. It can put you out of a job very fast.
Exactly.
Well,
sorry, George, you were saying.
No. I agree with you. I was going to say something similar. It's because, like, today, the truth doesn't set you free. It probably puts you on a watch list somewhere. But it's the same thing that studios have done. It's what NBC is doing, like Rings of Power, right? They still claim that they had one of the most successful shows in history.
I'm looking forward to learning more about the sex scene between Galadriel and Sauron, which I said, Paul will remember, said there, between those two cuts there, they did the dirty.
Before we get into that deep of a subject, we've got several more super chats to get through.
Yeah,
let's do it. We got through one this whole time. Ken Riegard sends in $2, says Disney Parks appeal is now more selective.
That's one way to say it.
That is true. Packing Proton sends in a very generous $10, says Andres mentioned Scientology. When this woke stuff started, it reminded me of that as well. And this is basically Scientology 2.0. They didn't believe in Xenos, so tried something else. Well, it's actually been replacing religion in general.
Yeah.
In fact, it's funny you bring that up, because I was listening to a program like a week ago where they were basically saying this exact thing about how the woke mentality has basically become that group's religion, because they have nothing else that they follow, and because most of them
it's a political religion too.
A cult. I've always viewed it more as a cult than a religion.
It's an ideology, and here's like the thing: when it comes to
cult, religion, they both work the same way. The point is
like the Scientology is incidental. What really matters is you have these manipulative brainwashing tactics. That is what makes a cult, and that creates these really deranged true believer followers. Now, Scientology is a very popular known example, but really they're just another run-of-the-mill cult.
Andre, don't
insidious.
Don't say that so loudly, because you might dissuade my subscribers that are listening here to me.
Oh, I already dissuaded my own. That I had got like an email saying like you have some Scientology listeners. Like, don't talk shit about our religion. And
how do you think I control my subscribers, Andre, with
Zemo?
Yeah.
In actuality, like I mean, in all fairness and kidding aside, I make fun of all religions equally. Right, like that's the way I look at it. It's
I've
either
never
all
heard you take on the Jains. I feel like you're leaving them out.
Yeah,
I'll get there.
That's Star Trek leader.
All of these things, they are applying the same brainwashing techniques that Scientology is using and that the woke are using, and that's why you see the similarities. It's because all cults are built around the same principles, and they use the exact same tactics to win adherents over, and that's why you see the similarities between Scientology and the current woke stuff. But if you compare it with any other cult, it would be the exact same thing. So that's why Scientology is incidental, but a good example.
Well, and I agree with, like, here's the thing with Scientology, and this is where I agree it's a little different than most religions, is that I've talked to several people, we know several celebrities and other people who spoke out to the press, where unlike most religions, it's a bit different when you try to leave. It is that cult mentality. It is,
Yeah,
they
that's when
cut
the
you off
love
from your
bombing
family.
stops. That's
Yeah,
when
it's
you
when
know it's a cult.
Yeah, because they cut you off from your family and your friends and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's a little different. And if you're part of that, that's your choice. But just it's
But
dicey
again, speaking of
situation.
leaving, we are
Yeah, we are going to be
unfortunately
losing
losing
Pro.
WDW Pro.
I shall become a midnight's edge of the morning apostate in any moment, folks. I hate to do it, but I do need to run, and I want to thank you guys for letting me be here. I have a strange programming notice for today. I never, ever live stream on Wednesdays, and I do not plan to do it again. But this evening at 8 p.m. Eastern, I am doing a special live show, and only because it's the only time I can get a particular source that I need. We have discovered something sort of like the Olympics ratings, but very pertinent to the folks here on this panel and to YouTubers everywhere. We think we have figured out exactly what's going on with the post that went viral versus Nerdrotic. And we think that there actually may be something going on bigger than that.
It's funny you
we're gonna
mentioned that.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about it. And folks, also stay tuned to www.thatparkplace.com, because later this afternoon, we're hoping to have an article come out that's going to explain it to some degree. Our source is going to be putting out a video later today, and we are tentatively looking forward to having Gary on the show tonight. We'll see if we can make it happen, but tentatively,
Pro, did you
we're
see
saying
that
so.
there was an exact same type of post for Critical Drinker?
Yes, and that is part of the report that we've got.
Okay, yeah, because last night I was talking to Price of Reason on his show, and him and I are in agreement, and I think you're probably in the same boat here, and I bet you this feels like an orchestrated attack. This feels like there's something coming down, and we're going to start seeing articles. I think we already saw one low-level article here and there from a few other places. There aren't like Variety and stuff like that yet, but we will hear within the next week or two about some of the bigger YouTubers in our sphere, like Gary and Critical.
I think there's going to be an effort to malign. Well, this is an attempt, I think, to do brand damage. The issue that needs to be put out is how are they achieving the results they are to get visibility so that it then justifies being in a publication or an online media outlet or what have you. And we think we know how they did it. We'll explain it. We'll show it. We'll reveal it. And I'll see everybody at 8 p.m. Eastern tonight. But again,
interesting.
I never plan to return to a Wednesday live stream. It's a one and done. So folks, don't leave your favorite Wednesday live streamers out there and think Pro's moving to a new slot. No, I'm done. No more live streaming. So, all right, guys, I'll see you then. And best to everyone. Later, all.
All right.
Later.
So, yeah. Then Packing Proton sends in 5. Says, also, I wonder what Mike Zero thought of the call.
Oh boy.
He probably just made stuff up. Thunderstorms.
After that call, he's going to have the reactions from Kathleen Kennedy and from all of them. They all said this in some forum that no one else can find. Funny that.
From Bob Iger's boudoir, I bring you. Yeah, it's crazy.
And then Thunderstorm says Deadpool and Wolverine will fund a lot of woke projects. Woke is the black licorice and the head cheese of entertainment.
That's nice.
Nice analogy there. It'll be interesting to see. From all we've been hearing coming out rumor wise from Marvel. What was that? Oh,
I like black licorice.
Oh, that's because you're a queerdo.
Is there any other kind of licorice?
There's you're
good, Norwegian.
Good hardcore salty Finnish licorice. It's the best.
I didn't know there was any other kind.
You pussies.
That was one of the funniest jokes in the new Bad Boys movie.
Oh, the black licorice.
It's a black licorice. Nobody likes them motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know there was like. I love my black licorice, but that's just like I love licorice, and to me, that I didn't know there was any more.
Oh yeah, over here we have.
Several flavors over here.
But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We've been hearing rumors that Marvel's turning things around.
Yeah,
so.
I don't think that it's going to fund anything woke, to be honest. Problem is the stuff that they have already filmed. And the other problem is, I don't think
Right.
there's going to be anything more overtly woke. I just don't trust Kevin Feige's ability to course correct and do it right.
Yeah, I never said it was going to be good. I just think that
Yeah.
they are going to be
That's the
moving away
issue.
from the woke. Yeah.
Yeah. They're moving away from the woke, but are they moving towards something good? I think that's beyond Kevin
Well,
Feige's
the other way to think about it is that if this was always Kevin Feige's plan, as opposed to just taking instructions from above, he
Wait
would
a
have been
minute.
fired a long time ago.
You mean to fuck up?
Yes,
Yeah.
I would suggest to you that the powers that be kind of got it, that they gave Kevin marching orders.
Oh, yeah.
Or he would have been fired. Like
He
this
was pretty much following those rules we were
Correct.
talking about the other day.
correct. So the reason he's still there is because the hierarchy has decided, you know what, this 5-year experiment didn't quite work as well as we thought. Here, we're going to give you a chance to set everything right.
I thought he had total control over the MCU and its
I
direction.
that's on
I thought so
paper.
too. But I mean,
He
no
still,
one
he
was-
still answers to Iger, and
Yeah.
Iger answers to people above him again,
Yeah.
which means that he has the full control that Iger allows him to have, and Iger has the full control that his people over him again allows him to have.
Yeah, there's
You
no
make
other
no mis-
explanation.
Well, make no mistake about it. Remember, this whole thing started with Iger. He took credit for it in his fucking book.
He did,
Right.
Yeah.
There's this whole part where he's talking about going through all the Marvel characters in this Marvel book, and he keyed in on Captain Marvel.
Oh, man.
And he went to Kevin and he goes, "What can we do with this character?" Or something along those lines or whatever. He goes, "Oh, I would love to do something with Captain Marvel, but guess what? Perlmutter won't let me. Just like he won't let me make this other character I want to make, Black Panther. But if we get rid of him, that's the key." And that's exactly what they did.
Yeah.
So
And-
they're not. Bob's not going to blame him because it's his fault.
Yeah, and also, and this, speaking of books, and what I think is so amazing is that in the other book, in the officially unofficial, but unofficially official
Officially.
story of the MCU by that Joanna Robinson chick, where she had like unlimited access to all of those people, and she was able to craft a narrative that portrayed Bob Iger and Kevin Feige as the heroes of the MCU, and Bob Chapek and Ike Perlmutter as the villains, which, as I detailed in an earlier video, made the whole book a jumbled mess in order to push that narrative, because it's not true. Even in that book, when they got to the chapter about Captain Marvel, then Kevin Feige he was meeting with a woman, Kelly Sue DeConnick, who wrote the modern iteration of the character they were going with, because Kevin Feige was like trying to wrap his head around, how is she different from Captain America? Yeah, she's a woman and she flies in space, but like personality-wise, how are these not the same character? And Kelly Sue DeConnick, she basically told him, in not these exact words, but
And if you
what
don't
amount.
like my politics, don't buy my book.
How did that
Yeah,
work
that's
out
her.
for her? How did that
That's
work?
How did that work?
That's her. And basically, what she told Kevin Feige is, okay, the difference is this. Captain America, he does what he does because it's right, and he's good at heart.
Yes.
Whereas Captain Marvel, she does what she does because she's a bitter, evil, man-hating bitch. And she does what she does because fuck you.
Pretty
And
much nailed it.
that's pretty much what it says in the book.
Nailed it.
She's a completely unlikable person, and it's unbelievable that they went with it, and they even brought that to the screen. Her utter unlikability.
Yeah, but they did it strategically. Remember, it was right before when they placed the film, so they could take credit. Look, it made $1 billion.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, there was a lot of deception going on there.
because people were like, "Well, how is it woke when it's succeeding?" I'm like, "Look at what it came before."
And look at what came after. That's a
Correct.
real proof of putting it right there.
Oh, 11,
also
11 Alpha. 11 Alpha was in the chat talking about Ouzo. Yes, I love Ouzo. I don't like black licorice, but I can drink Ouzo and I enjoy it. Sorry.
Oh yeah, that's true. Uso. I haven't had that for years, since last I was in Greece, actually.
But Ouzo is smoother for some reason. The licorice to me is like pineapple on pizza. I don't know. Just
Which is great.
no.
No, sorry, you can't cross the border into Canada now. It's one of the immigration tests.
I got it. National food.
Yes, national food. Hawaiian pizza is Canada's.
I thought that was poutine.
That comes a close second.
Okay.
Hawaiian pizza, number one.
Wow, I'm gonna miss you, Canada.
Yes, I have a Dutch friend, Martin, with 2 A's, and yeah, we went through a whole bunch of Dutch licorice. Actually, did a video on it.
Really, I haven't seen that.
It's quite funny. Yeah, so yeah, you know what? But I'm not allowed to eat black licorice anymore because I'm taking medicine for my blood pressure. You can't do this. You can't have black licorice and blood.
Oh, I didn't know that.
No.
Really? Well, is there something? Well, evidently there's something really bad in the black licorice. Then.
Oh, it just affects blood pressure. So in an unregulated way.
It, then I should imagine.
So, anyways, there you go. The ravages of getting old is that you no longer can enjoy certain favorite things.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. It happens to everybody, and then you just need either a bottle of Tums or a bottle of pills.
That's right.
Maybe that's what Kathleen Kennedy's problem is. She's just pissed that she got older.
Well, the other thing too, I'm thinking of, if this story is true, what level of success is she actually willing to leave on? Is it like just a meager amount of success that everybody then just goes, "Oh, phew, thank fucking Christ"?
It's but is it movie? You know,
is it monetary though? Is the success monetary, or is she talking about acceptance? Like fans are raving about it. Which
no, it's monetary, because around her, every single movie she's made, she has enough people, sycophants, to tell her how great these movies were. I don't think she thinks any of the projects she's ever done has been bad, because she has enough people to do confirmation bias surgery on her.
You don't think when she looks in the mirror in the morning, she truly knows, like, the truth? You know, we all know. When you look at yourself, you know what's going on, no matter how many people blow sunshine up here.
No, they don't. You need to be in Hollywood for a bit of time. Oh, the posses are how these people survive. Trust me.
I trust you. I always thought that every human being at some level, you know, when they're by themselves, know what the truth is deep down.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have Mexican Iron Man.
Who does know the truth?
Isn't it Mexican white Iron Man?
I see Junior in the background there too.
Oh, hey. I can't hear you.
You're muted.
How about now?
Now we can hear you.
Hi, George Giant Slayer that never calls me back because he doesn't need me anymore.
You were on vacation. I didn't want to bug you.
I'm still on vacation, technically, but I just had to come on stream to say hi to you fine gentlemen. And good news, Andre. I logged into your U.S. holdings accounts, and I have liquidated everything and invested in Disney stock. So I know you didn't ask me to do that for you, Andre. But I did for you anyway.
Well, you know what? I'm glad you did it today. So now we just have to think a little bit further, and then maybe when Peltz and Perlmutter comes back, it's not going to be too much to reach profitability. I mean, I know that I'll see a profit on the Disney shares much sooner than you will, so it's all good.
Ouch, that hurt. Wow. Well, if he keeps going, was it Perlmutter who said he was going to buy back at what, 65 or 70?
Yeah, exactly. And the beauty is that if he can get it up to like 110 or something, we sell out then. And I'm good, thanks to Mike. Whereas it has to go up to 170 before he's even in zero.
Okay, you know what? I get back to zero at $141 a share because that's my basis average.
Well.
I bought at 170, but I bought another 200 at 79. So I'm at 141 overall.
So you're one of the people who bought 3 years ago, who've lost 60%. I'm just
You know
kidding.
what? You know what? You know what? Hi,
I'm
George.
kidding.
I've missed you a lot too. Hi, George. This is awesome. Wow. You know what? Thanks for the hugs and kisses. You're awesome. Wow. Wow. So glad I showed up today.
Yeah, now we just need to guest appearance from Alf, and everything is going to be complete.
Yes, I love Raki, to answer your question.
But yeah, since we have the Disney stock loss expert here, let's hear your. We've been covering in detail, but Mike, your general thoughts on the today's major Disney event.
Well, I've
the
been listening
Q&A.
I've been listening to the show as I was driving around from client to get Max and bring him back to the house. So I'll just add a few things. One is that I think it's interesting that we have gone from an earnings call where Bob is proud to announce that he's back, proud to get some accolades, proud to basically say that everything is Chapek's fault, and proud to announce his vision for where he's going to take this company. That was back in his first earnings call, as we will recall, at the beginning of last year, because he came back in on November 10th of the prior year. Now, to today, and by the way, the earnings calls were always in the afternoon. They're now in the morning, and I am convinced, although what humility Valiant Renegade does have, which isn't much, and I know because I don't have much either, but I think the calls were moved to the morning because of all the coverage versus the afternoon, because they've always been in the afternoon for years. They're now in the morning, and here's what we got this morning. We got an earnings call in the morning. We got no opening statement at all. We didn't get any thoughts from Bob, nothing. They put it up on the website, and they immediately went into Q&A, and Bob was in and out in 30 minutes. There was no video of what's happening. There was to basically, I see what we have with the CEO is we have a guy that's running defense and playing not to lose instead of playing to win. And I think what I didn't hear anybody talk about it on the show before I got here, so I'm going to bring it up. There's some stuff in these financials that talk about the accounting shenanigans related to Hulu and the valuation of Hulu and how they're reporting the revenue and the costs and expenses of Hulu's that are designed to make what they're getting out of Hulu look more profitable than what it really is. And then they're taking that much more profitable look of Hulu that they're extracting out, taking it against the Disney loss, and that's how they're making the claim that they're now streaming profitable, when in reality Disney Plus is still a money loser, will continue to be a money loser, but they've merged these earnings with Hulu. But they didn't just merge them together, which was something they did before. They've now basically, in these financials that I read, they recast, and what they did is they extracted stuff that looked profitable, they lowered the costs associated with it, and they adjusted to how they treat the amortization. I know I'm probably boring the crap out of everybody, but basically, in order to cover a bleeding hole in the bucket, they applied more Band-Aids. Tom Connors, you have to listen to me talk because I hardly come on stream with you anymore, so you better stay awake. You better stay awake.
You're doing number stuff, though. Number.
Okay, well, you want me to take my shirt off to make it sexier
Okay.
for you?
No.
Let's get it on.
That does remind me of that scene, Tom, from Bad Boys when it started playing.
Otherwise, I would say that's a great analysis and perfectly encapsulates exactly what's going on.
No, Mikey knows what he's talking about. Yeah.
In how bad straits this company really is.
Well, Mike, how come they don't license any of their shows to other streaming services?
Funny you say that. He specifically announced in today's show, or today's call, I call it a show because it's really an earnings call.
It kind of was.
It kind of was a show. He did announce that they're not going to be licensing anything.
That makes no sense.
They believe Bob. You know what? Bob believes that Disney Plus is going to have demand, and they got to keep all their content in house. And they don't want to franchise their IPs out to other people that might make money. Especially, here's what I think's happened. Disney thinks that because everybody's moving to an ad-based model, the cable model for the streaming crap, that they're like, well, if we give them our content, then that means we might get the fees for putting the content on their platform, but now they're going to pick up the ad revenue. And we want the fees, and we don't care about the fees because we want the ad revenue all to ourselves. It's all or nothing, because Disney's always been greedy sons of bitches who want to keep all the money, and they would rather try to chase a dollar while they're losing nickels and dimes all day long, even if that dollar never shows up.
Gotcha. But Warner Brothers is licensing it. There are lots of studios who license them out. They make that money, and whether it's going to Netflix or other streaming services. I don't think this cable model that everybody's trying to switch to now is gonna go over well. I mean, you had 100 million people who had cable in the United States about 10 years ago. Now it's around 45, estimated to 50 million, and now they're trying to get everyone, to do the same thing back, do these bundled packages. Do you think it's going to work?
I do. I think they. I think they don't have any choice but to. These things are not sustainable. At least not all of them are. So either they're going to all have to move to licensing, like in the good old days. But the model is cable. It has to be.
Why? Cable is like a socialist-based system. Here, pay us $200 a month for 300 channels. That's you only.
Yeah, well, what do you want, George? You know what? Guys like you and me don't care because we can spend. I mean, I'm spending right now over 300. No, I'm literally spending $320 a month on entertainment. If you count up all the streaming, YouTube TV at $68, which I subscribe to, the HBO, the Netflix, the Amazon, you add up everything.
Dude.
And this doesn't include internet service. I'm paying well over 300 some odd bucks a month right now because of the stupid cable war and because I want to be able to get anything I want anytime. Back when I had cable, I paid $180 without internet, and I had everything. If I wanted the sports package, I paid another.
And guess what? Nothing was worth a damn back then. It's going to be the same thing. You're going to have.
You know what? For $200, I still had Showtime, HBO, and I had everything.
Well, and I could back Mike up on this because
I have never paid so much for so little that I don't know what. The only reason I'm able to find stuff is because of Chris Gore taught me about the Just Now app. And that tells me where everything is on every streaming service anywhere on the planet, and it's live and it's updated.
I got a Just Now app right behind me here.
Yeah, I think it's simple. I think I like choice. But, I jump when I go, okay, Netflix is going to make these 5 shows. I wait till those 5 shows are out, unless it's something that I'm going to cover. I go on there, I sign up to Netflix, I watch them, and then I get out. It's the churn. They don't like that. They want to force everybody back to pay. They got lazy. Hollywood got fucking lazy with cable. They're like, look, everybody's paying us money. We don't have to put out anything decent, anything good. There's only a few channels that anybody actually watches.
Wrong.
I just
wrong. Because back when the previous model, you had to succeed. You had advertising and ratings carried the day, and you had to be successful. You had to green light a show. If that show failed, that show didn't get more seasons. And if it was successful,
CNN,
it got spun into. Are we talking about creative properties, or are we talking about stupid crap like CNN that's live news propaganda?
No, I'm talking there are many shows that were around like CNN, whether they're news-based, that did not have the ratings to succeed. They became part of your package. I hear what you're saying. You're talking about the price. I want to pay this. I was paying less. But do you think that they're going to go back to that, or they're going to slowly raise it? We're going to bundle everything back up. Didn't everybody?
It's going to bundle back. It's already started happening with the Warner Brothers Disney package that was announced. It's already started happening.
I like choice
because I'm good. Well, great, because you've got infinite amount of money, and you're George the Giant Slayer, and all you have to do is go to your gold chest and your mountaintop hidden the highest in the Andes, where all your hordes of cash are at. Down here where the Mexican plantation farmers reside here, right here down in, where we suffer down here in our corn husks. Yeah, we don't have infinite money.
Yeah,
that's full of crap, actually, because George knows I live on an island, so that's
right. Choice. I like choice. I think Americans like choice. I think people like freedom.
You know what people like even more than choice? People like the ability to pay less for something good.
Yes, that we agree on. To pay less for something good. To pay less. Yep.
When we read their super chats, I was going to say.
Yep.
No, you guys are right. And when I cut out the streaming bits, that's when I started saving a little bit of money. I don't have hardly anything anymore. It's too expensive. Kaleki sends in a $5 Rumble rant and says, if I was a mega corporation and wanted to leave out of streaming, how would I do that without decimating my stock? Let's be honest, streaming's a bust and a wasted expenditure. Netflix, it's even possible.
What?
Is it even possible? So basically saying, well, Netflix already won.
Yeah.
Why aren't these corporations getting out of the streaming business?
Who do you think will be left? Netflix, Disney, like in the streaming wars?
Probably just takes them some time to realign and get out. but they're eventually going to.
None of them are going to die. They're all just going to repackage themselves and bundle
They're going
themselves
to
and work with
conglomerate.
each other.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen. So we're going to end up in George's socialist model, whether he likes it or not.
Well,
Well,
everyone
everyone,
Hulu 2.0 basically.
everyone competing. We've covered this already. Everyone competing for to get a streaming service has basically done two things. One, it eviscerated the TV network advertising model, which was extremely successful, moved it over to an unsuccessful, expensive model that they're now charging money for that makes them look like cable. So this probably will go down in the annals of some business book as one of the business farces of all time.
The next step is basically what they did with cable, and that is they force you into a contract.
Right.
And then you'll get also streaming service bundles.
Right, but do you think people after so
Which
many
we
years
already
of
have.
streaming choice are going to want to go back to a contract? Everybody that I talk to, those with money and those without money, like choice. They don't want to go back to contracts. They don't want to go back to unless streaming is going to find a way to bundle it with internet service. I don't see how it's going to work because you're paying for your internet service, then you're going to have to pay for that bundle. I don't know. I've stripped everything down to just
We're already I'm already paying Hargrave Communications, my local cable provider. I disconnected the cable plan and I buy the internet from Hargrave Communications. That's where I buy my internet. And meanwhile, while I'm doing that, I'm over here buying HBO. I'm over here buying this. I'm over here buying that. I'm over here buying this. I'm over here buying that. I'm over here buying this. I'm over here buying that. I'm over here buying Yet most of the time I'm on YouTube watching you guys.
Right.
But I have it just because so I need it. So I have that choice. But I'm getting sick of it. I'm getting to be like Tom. Like if I actually think about how much I watch this stuff, screw it. I'm sick of it. And you know what? They can all have a bloodbath and they can all burn and crash along with their stock for doing this streaming war in the first place.
You know, everybody begged for it. That's good. Growing up, all you heard was, man, I really would like to be able to choose what the hell I watch, what channels I want. I mean, that's all you ever heard was, I just want HBO and Showtime. I don't want all the other crap to go with it. And that's it.
Hey, George, since we're fighting online, should we do a live stream later and do videos of each other to be
you guys need to have Twitter beef next. That's how.
Yeah,
Twitter beef next.
The Greek versus the Mexican.
I'm going to turn on my inner Mikey and get through these super chats here because these folks have been waiting patiently as we've been promising. We're going to get to them for the last.
Okay, I'll shut up.
Minutes.
That's my cue to shut up.
Charles Hurst is here. The Charles Hurst sends in $20 and says, those who run the financial institutions can't relate to actual people, so they base all decisions based whatever's trending on Twitter.
Well, if only we were so lucky. They used to do that when Twitter was run by bots. Now, when that's no longer the case, I worry they run out of something else. That's more in line with the message.
These people have their own conversations. I worked for the Rothschilds. I did quite several cross-Canada money tours of their plans, met them all, the president and everything. And I worked for other financial institutions. Plus, I got a chance to work for the big company in the United States with the bull as a symbol. Can't remember.
Anyway, lizard people. I'm just curious.
Pardon me. I'm just saying that unless you have worked for the 1%ers out there, Merrill Lynch. Thank you. Unless you've worked for the 1%ers out there, you really have no idea what conversations they have. And they're not listening, reading Twitter or anything like that.
No, exactly.
It's a different world of people. It's a group of people who go, hey, after lunch, you know what? I've got my boat off, just moored on Ellis Island. We can go off and just do something. Yeah, sure. I mean, the conversations are that casual around money and ownership of yachts and stuff like that. They talk about that stuff the way we talk about, going to Chuck E. Cheese. It's a very different world. So this doesn't really fit based on my experience, my brief experience hobnobbing with the 1%.
But Charles is right, though, in that they can't relate to actual people.
Yes.
And this is true. We are
That's
beneath
correct.
contempt from their point of view, and they don't care if we live or die. So you are entirely right about that.
Yeah.
It's just the them actually paying attention to Twitter. That's a different matter.
Well, they think they're smarter than everybody else.
Yes, they look down upon us.
Oh, it's
Yes.
lords and serfs.
Yeah. Again,
Not that they aren't nice
we're
people.
little people and we're cattle.
Now, they're not, it's not like they're bad people. They bought me a $500 aperitif,
So were the rumors
Okay.
true? Rothschilds, lizard people? No.
No.
Well, Kalekioki feels like we didn't really answer his question. So if the mega corporations wanted to leave out of streaming, how would I do that without decimating my stock?
You
Let's
don't.
be honest, streaming and bust and wasted it. No, you can't. It's too
You
late.
can't. It would literally decimate it because all of these companies from Disney on changed their value proposition. They all made big deals that they were going into streaming. They've made big deals in terms of how they organize their financials as part of their earnings, as part of their reporting to the SEC. And to now say, oops, we were wrong completely, would literally decimate them because it makes them seem less like a tech company and more like something old and stodgy. It's no different than, say, what happened with Sears. You go into being an old stodgy company and you're no longer tech and sexy, even if you don't know what you're doing. And it's real simple. I've heard Paul talk about it on this show literally 20 to 30 times. If they literally did what Paul Chato did, which is his green light methodology and his show running system with ads, Paul could fix all of this literally in probably 6 to 9 months.
Easy.
No, you could, Paul. Seriously, if you did one strategic meeting with all these management teams and you went and you did each one once a week and hand it to them and say, I'll be back in 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
Give me your green light show. Send me the tapes. You would have all of this fixed. I know you would.
Yeah, it's a numbers game, really.
It is.
You have to go back to it.
So what are they not understanding, Paul?
Well, I mean, really the big crushing piece in this puzzle is something nobody talks about, is that its pilot season gave more work to people than the actual productions. Because when all the networks filtered down all the different shows, maybe they'd have only 4 or 5 new shows each season, but they greenlit for initial pilot production, maybe 60, not 60, but let's say 50 shows. So there's a massive industry, and a lot of people made money for failed shows. Now, I don't mean failed shows in that they didn't work. I mean shows that never made it to air.
Right.
So
The ones that didn't get picked up. Right.
That entire industry, that pilot industry, is dead. It's gone.
So wait a minute, they don't do any pilots and any internal pilots anymore for streaming? Oh, okay.
No, for streaming, no, there's no pilots for streaming.
No, yeah, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. They
make the deal, and then they give them a deal for 8 shows, and then they cross their fingers.
Yeah, they killed the entire pilot procedure. Basically.
I mean, in network TV, a one network would literally have about 100 scripts that they've commissioned between sitcoms and dramas. And then they would green light for pilots, 20 or 30 of them, and then they would put 4 of them on air. And it's that massive numbers that created the shows that we all love.
Yeah,
that it's all about that. I mean, there's no other way to do it. They've got to go back to that model.
That seems simple enough.
It's expensive, but I don't know. I don't know how else.
In the long run, it seems like it would work out more because you would go back to having more successful shows, more that had an impact on the culture, water cooler talk, everybody. And
right.
Yeah.
Right. And you'd give people regular work as if it's a business. So Hollywood was never a regular business. It's not like going into General Motors or and building a car or something like that. Hollywood was contracts on top of contracts and favors and things like that over a period of time made it feel like people were actually working for a living. But now it's been proven, now that the streaming services only do 8 shows and then they wait 4 years before the next season shows up and things like that. It's just
pretty much shoot them like movies now.
It's
Right, you could
destroying-
even do a pilot now using going online, having people review them. You know, if you let everybody see the pilots, which ones worked. Here's our 50 pilots that we're looking at making.
Yep.
I like that to go back to that. That's a great idea.
Well, and that's why I love when Paul does his TV guides for when they do the new fall previews. That used to be, the exciting time for television every year is when you get to see the new shows and what was coming and who was going to be in what, and
Yeah, the streaming has basically blown up one really important piece of the puzzle, and that was they got rid of anticipation.
Yeah, because you never know anymore when you're going to get the next season. Exactly. Like, you have no idea. It could be a year, it could be 2 years.
Yeah. So that's on the bad side. On the good side, TV networks, every September, you got your TV guide. You went through it and went, oh yeah, Manimal. I really want to see that. A guy that can turn into animals. Oh yeah.
They'll never cancel that.
No.
I will tell you one thing that drives. I'll tell you one thing that drives some of my family crazy is they hate the wait for each new season for whatever show it is. They're like, we used to get like 20, 25 episodes. It felt like when it finished, it was a couple of months later that you would get the next season.
Basically, you had plenty of repeated episodes in the summertime in case you missed one. But yeah, no, 22 episodes, 24 episodes was the norm. Where this came in, I think, started with like
the
prestige television.
Yeah, HBO.
No, more prestige television like HBO, and then AMC and some of the other channels started trying to do
Yeah,
their
but they copied that UK model with, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, with that 3 or 4 episodes or 5 episodes per season.
Partially, but the reason why prestige was doing it that way was just because of the cost.
Okay.
Right? Like, because a great example of that is a show like Deadwood, right? The show costs so much to make. That's what killed it. Because of the huge elaborate sets, costumes, horses, stunts, all that stuff that they had to do practically. Each season was costing more than a film production. So at that time, that's why HBO deemed it, too expensive, even though it was one of their most popular shows. But now something like Entourage, they could keep going for like 8 seasons because it was cheap. But then again, you look at the season count, and it's only about 8 to 12 episodes, depending on the season.
Same thing with Sopranos.
Yeah, same thing with Sopranos and these other shows. And it's because they're a little bit higher quality. They're shot a little bit higher quality than regular television. The actors are a bit more prestigious.
I like that.
You get movie stars and stuff like that in there and stuff like that. And
I like that, Tom. But
that's kind of what fed into the whole streaming, basically. And that's how streaming took that type of mentality and that type of model instead of taking the old classic television model that Paul and I always were talking about. Basically.
Seems like there's a sweet spot somewhere in between.
Yeah, and
you could do both, really, and that's the thing. Sorry,
and the number of cable and streaming shows, maybe because they're a younger medium, we don't have the nostalgia for them the way we still do for things like Beverly Hillbillies, Bewitched, The Jetsons, Honeymooners. Why are we still talking about those shows? Because they were network shows. Now, Honeymooners, there weren't very many Honeymooners shows. People think that there were many, but
no, there was only like 1 season or whatever. But no, you're right, Paul. But the problem is a lot of the new shows are either revivals of old shows,
or they're cop procedurals.
Yeah.
Cop procedurals everywhere.
But I mean, they're even bringing back stuff like Law and Order because they can't come up with anything new.
Right. And the thing is, if I was running a network, I would put on a Brandon Tartikoff time machine hat, and I'd go, I want shit that looks like something like the A-Team, something that looks like Knight Rider, something that looks like Baywatch. I want great crap, just really fun crap. I don't want copies of those. I don't want copies of those, but I want shows that feel like, Magnum PI. And it could be done, but no one's doing that.
And they killed the sitcom. I know we've had that discussion a few times too.
But I think that can be resurrected too.
It can be, I think.
You mean like Three's Company? I Love Lucy.
Yeah. The closest thing we have to a sitcom right now is the revivals. Right? You got that 90s show or whatever the hell it's called.
The 90s show.
80s show or whatever.
And you also have the Frasier, another revival.
Big Bang Theory stuff.
I'm hearing rumors about another. Yeah, they're going to do a spinoff of the young Sheldon of the sister, I believe. I heard.
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
great.
it's the brother actually. It's
Or the brother. I'm sorry. Yeah,
and
and
yeah.
then I think they're doing another spinoff of one of the other characters too. I think I heard a rumor of from the original show yet. So yeah, that's all they know how to do. And this goes along with what Vince Vaughn was saying on that Hot Ones interview, is that the IP is everything now. They don't try anything new, and it's really shown in television too. And this is something we kind of neglected to talk about, Paul, the other day. That's where comedians used to get their their feet wet, or however you want to put it, get earn their wings or whatever. And that's kind of been closed into this little box now. It's like, okay, unless you were on Friends, you can't go, because we're going to do a Friends revival. Well, it's like, why don't you just do something like Friends?
Right.
It's no,
But you
we're
have
gonna do
to
a
have
revival.
But you have to have the mentality behind, the creativity, the real talent behind, to be funny, to be allowed to be funny, to be allowed to entertain. How are you going to do that with all the DEI and woke intersectional?
Well, and Paul and I actually had a great conversation the other day about that, and we agree that you don't have to treat everything like it's Blazing Saddles. You can still make comedy
how you
and
be
kind of
funny?
circumvent the woke. You can still do it.
Well, I watched this. Sorry, I watched this. I don't remember the name of it. I saw it 2 days ago. It was with Michael Keaton. He's an assassin who gets some form of like an accelerated dementia, where he only has a few weeks till he loses his entire memory. Very slow film, but he gave a good performance. But I think an hour into it, one of the detectives is talking to her partner. And he keeps saying, like, well, I think it's this guy who did this murder and this guy who did this murder. And she turns around just out of nowhere. She's like, can't you get with the times? It's always guy with you. It's always guy with you. He's like, what do you want me to say? They, them, and there? She's like, yeah, exactly. Be modern. And I was like, where the fuck did that come from? It's like, it has nothing to do with the entire story. It just...
Anyways, so I think there's like everything else. When I was running a company, you have to manage the process, and if you manage the process, then it's easier to manage the people. What's happened is that they have forgotten the process. You have to get back to the process. Then out of that process, you will get the people.
Let's keep moving here. We got Dakaiju Gamer, who says with $5, how Disney angered me, movies and parks aside, is the fact that they are planning to replace the dinosaur ride and have yet to fix the darned Yeti.
Maybe it's because it's not Yeti fixed.
Oh. It's not fixed Yeti.
Yeah, it's not fixed yet.
This is why you need me. I'm a punching
I know.
artist. How Disney angered you? Yeah, man. I've never been to the park actually, but it's gotten to the point where I don't really care if I ever go. If I ever go to any parks, it's going to be Universal.
I've never been to Universal.
I've wanted to go to
fantastic.
Universal since the first damn time I saw in the home video thing where it goes, come live the movies, Jaws the ride, King Kong, E.T., Back to the Future.
Did they remove that Jaws ride?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think there's only one park that has it.
Well, then I'm very glad that I got to go when it was still there, because I was there in 1995.
Thankfully, there's people who have preserved the ride online in video form on YouTube in many, different angles and the different places it was at. But I think somebody in the chat, please correct me if I'm wrong. I think only one of the foreign ones has it still, like Japan or something like that.
There's a Jaws that's part of the tour in LA, but the Jaws in Orlando is gone.
Okay. Yeah,
We
I knew at
I
least
saw it in LA.
two of them are gone. And then
Wait a minute, I must have gone when it was in the 80s.
I believe both Back to the Future and E.T. are gone now too.
Because
ET is still in ET is still in Orlando. We just wrote it last week.
Did you? Okay.
Because I was in LA and there was I can't remember.
That's
that
Florida, not California. Yeah.
But wait a minute, Mike, the one in LA, does it have the Jaws ride? Is there also
No,
Kit
they
there?
just have while you're on the Universal Studios tour.
Yeah,
going
that's
around,
okay.
there's the Jaws exhibit pool, but the actual ride doesn't exist.
You know
What
what's sad
about Kit? Is Kit still there? The Knight Rider? They used to have that.
No,
Probably not.
no, I think they got rid of that in 1872.
Oh yeah, I'm remembering way too far back. No, because I saw pictures. Cool.
By
You
the
know
way,
what's sad?
that Paul, do you still need to go? You were supposed to go like 20 minutes ago.
Oh shit. Andre, do we have any specifically for Paul?
Trying to help Paul.
I will
leave.
check here.
Paul's like, I'm tired of
Yeah.
being on screen with this Mexican. I stayed in his
I got
house.
this one
exactly my
here.
feeling.
Paul got sick of me when he was here all week.
No.
We got this one from Tennille who says, Paul, what's KK's excuse then?
Oh, I can't read her mind. I mean, this is again, as F. Scott Fitzgerald said, these people are not like us. So
Yeah,
Good way to
indeed,
put
that's
it.
exactly right. And
Or as
Tennille
George said, there's a
also
big
said
club
for
and you're
another
not in it.
$10 to Paul and Andre's point. My parents live in Bel Air, and I occasionally even see elements of that out of touchness from them. But it usually manifests more as conflating spreadsheet data with reality. Yeah, it doesn't take much to be dislocated from reality. Living in a bubble will do it, and Bel Air is a bubble. It really doesn't take anymore. Like, that's not a dig at your parents in any way. It's just if you live in a bubble, you're isolated. Same would happen to all of us. If we are suddenly in a bubble, it's going to happen. Mr. Tickle Drunk says for $2 Canadian, run, Paul, run.
I'm the running man.
See you in the movies.
So that's it.
Yeah, and
That's
thanks
for you.
for being here today.
No problem. I'm going back to rule the internet with my website.
All right. And we'll
And
be
your
back into
pineapple
Super Chats.
pizza.
That's right.
Ew.
It's nasty.
Pineapple licorice pizza.
Ay, ay, ay.
Yeah, so Tennille reminds us that he's sorry to be that guy, but we are backed up on Super Chats. Yeah, I've been trying to get him in here, guys. I'm so
Bye,
sorry.
everyone.
Yeah, well,
Great to
go
see you,
through the
Paul.
rest of them.
See you, George.
Take care.
Bye. Bye, Michael. See you.
Take care.
Bye, Paul.
And then Chris K asks, has the panel heard about Heavy Trip 2 release? No, I have not. I don't even know what Heavy Trip 1 is, honestly.
I was about to say, what's Heavy Trip 1?
Unless it's something I'm kind of forgetting.
So looking around at the reactions, it would appear to be no, none of us have heard about it. Sorry about that.
It is a Norwegian metal movie. So this
Well,
one's
then
for you,
I'm
Andre.
embarrassed that I didn't know. But
You should
no,
be,
actually,
yeah.
I should be, I guess. Well, this is something I have to look into for Friday then for our heavy metal segment. Yeah.
Yeah.
To be
this-
revisited then. Heavy Trip.
It looks
Okay,
Norwegian as hell.
Let's see. Yeah, that looks pretty Norwegian. Can't argue that.
Shit, I think this is you right there. No, I'm just kidding. That's me with hair. Because I got a sandwich.
And the burger.
Yeah. And that's me after I got yelled at by Mikey. That's my face.
Heavy Trip. Okay, I'm checking it out. Checking it out for Friday.
George,
So
I got a
a
notif-
sequel.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Keep with the Super Chats. Oh, my God. We are backed up.
I wonder if it's a lot like Spinal Tap. I wonder if that's what it's like. Dear Ron
Well,
sends in... What?
It's actually a Finnish production. That's
Oh.
why I haven't heard about
Oh, I
it.
thought it said it was Norwegian here, but my bad.
Yeah, I know. No, it's Finnish.
Or maybe the band is from Norway. That's what it said in the thing. I don't know.
Is that a roller coaster in the back on the screen?
Yeah, he's playing a game.
Yeah, Max is making. He's after going to Universal. He's designing.
I wanna
his
do
new thing is
that.
designing roller coasters and theme parks. So if you see, if that's what is that what you're looking at behind
Yeah.
me?
I want to do that.
Yeah, that's
Hey,
Max.
Max.
That Max designed all of that. He designed the coasters, the cars, the park. He's laying out the park right now. He's building his own theme park.
Cool.
I love like Sim City stuff. Daryl On sends in 10 euros and says even Parisians left Paris and bus and metro, I think he meant, fare are doubled until September, which is the end of the Olympics. Oh, well, that sucks. I know what that's like though. I used to live in a tourist town. All summer long that would happen. Prices on everything would go up. Chaos Sonic 1 sends in 5 and says, shame, I thought Mexican Iron Man would be here because he knows more about stocks. Well, you got your wish.
Yep, and I read all the financial documents that they posted on the website, and thank you.
That's my celebration music.
Oh, and yeah, it was. Bob is. I gotta give it to Bob. If he's a good thing at anything, he's a good at finding new ways to lie about his financials.
That is true. And then Tennille says Zaslav surrounds himself with few Naismiths. More people in Hollywood should do that too. I've definitely seen more people do that on the East Coast. Well, let's be clear. This is only working mostly in Zaslav's favor right now because he's doing a cleanup job. So the last thing he needs is somebody to get in his way. But if he had taken over a studio that was already running pretty well, then he would do well to listen to, and have people, let's say, not listen to, but have people push against some of his choices and ideas sometimes. Because that's kind of what you want in a healthy work environment. You want to have somebody who could say, well, I think I got a better idea, or I don't think that's a good idea, but I think this could be, or, something like that, or, but in this case, the last thing Zaslav needs is somebody in his way. And that's partially why I think the media and a lot of the people in Hollywood don't like him, because of the power he does swing right now over at Warner Brothers. And honestly, as bad as they keep trying to make it sound, I don't like everything he's done. I don't agree with everything he's done, but he has made major changes over there, and he's got them in a lot better shape than they were a couple of years ago. I don't know if everyone on the panel agrees or not, but
I still am undecided. Every time I think that I feel I have trust that he's going to go in the right direction, it changes. Like the other day, you had James Gunn. Was it 7 days ago? You had Gunn who was coming out that his DCU is going to have flavors of Game of Thrones complexity and darkness.
Well, this is what I got to say about...
Isn't that Snyder? Isn't that exactly what Snyder did?
Kind of, but here's my thing with this. I don't know what the hell James Gunn is going to do, but I'm not going to blame Zaslav for making that choice, because that was the right choice. It was just like Kathleen Kennedy on paper with Star. It could have turned out the same way, sadly. But like that's what, it made sense to make Kathleen Kennedy the head of Lucasfilm on paper.
It did?
Yes.
Okay.
Because she was the most successful producer in Hollywood. She has worked with George. She has worked with Steven. She has worked with Robert Zemeckis.
Does that mean she doesn't mean she's a creative?
No. And she should have known that, and she should have got somebody creative to do that. That's part of the problem. See, now James, on the other hand, is a creative, though. That's the key. And Zaslav is trusting his process. He as part of the deal, he gets to run DC Films and all of DC, basically. He's like the godfather over DC now. And in that, he probably has complete control and nobody can question him.
So
and
far.
in that, it's going to fall on his lap, though, at the end of the day, right? So I think Zaslav made the right choice as far as who he picked, to the point we have to see yet if it turns out that he made the right choice. I would have made that same exact choice, is my point. If I was tasked with getting Warner Brothers in shape, and one of the first things I knew I had to do was get DC in shape, he's the guy I would have went to, because he's the guy who was the reason Marvel had success between the first phase and the end of Infinity War, basically.
James Gunn? You're talking...
Yes.
You're saying that he had more input than Guardians?
Yes.
Okay, well, that's good to know. I didn't
Because
know
he even said, and this is his own words, to do Guardians of the Galaxy, he had to know what the hell Thanos was up to. And he asked Kevin, and Kevin goes, I don't know. We just threw him in there. We hadn't decided yet. So basically, at that point, Kevin had confirmed that they had no plan going into this thing. There was no grand plan.
Unlike what they said, that they charted it all out.
No, they didn't. They're fucking lying, because even James called bullshit on that, because he said, well, I had to sit down and figure out the Infinity Saga. So he said he took one night and planned it all out, because that way, otherwise, he couldn't write his trilogy.
Right.
And in fact, he played a key part in Infinity War and Endgame, to the point where he even directed the heavy Guardian scenes.
Okay, and I thought that was LaRusso, so I'm
they
glad
worked with him.
That's why I love our conversation.
In fact, isn't he listed as one of the executive producers on Infinity War?
Yeah,
he is. I just didn't know.
And then from there, on that point off, he was supposed to. Marvel was supposed to split. There were supposed to be two different regimes. There was supposed to be the multiverse regime, which Kevin Feige was going to oversee, and then there was supposed to be the
cosmic line.
Cosmic. That's right. Yeah. And that's what James Gunn was supposed to oversee. So he was going to oversee anything that had anything to do with outer space characters, basically. And that was the initial plan until Alan Horn fired him unceremoniously without checking with anybody first.
Right, with all that crap.
And at that point, that's when Warner Brothers pounced. And ever since then, and that's when I kept hearing rumors that Zaslav was whining and dining and practically sucking James Gunn's balls, saying, "Please take over DC. Please take over DC."
So now I
Please take
understand
over
why
DC."
you say it was the right choice. That makes sense. I didn't know that he was that much involved with the MCU. I thought it was just his films, and he had some conversations about
because otherwise the choices were The Rock.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well,
that was who was
good to know.
trying to take over DC. And I don't remember who else they had online, but there was not very many other people. I know I think they had offered it to Matt Reeves at one point early on too, during the Batman process. But other than that, I'm trying to remember who the other names were. But
So you have faith in Gunn then for his DC?
Here's
the
the
only
thing.
problem I
Many
have
of
is
us, we have faith in Gunn. We don't have faith in some of the people he have chosen to align himself with and hire, such as Tom King, CIA agent and shitty comic book writer, and Damon Lindelof. He's hired
that's
them.
the problem.
Fuck.
The other problem is what I was going to say is he should have gone scorched earth. He should have threw the baby out with the bathwater. I get it. His wife is a part of this. He likes what's-her-face as Amanda Waller. He wants to keep his Suicide Squad and Peacemaker as part of the deal. That's his big mistake right there. That is going to be baggage that he's carrying along into this new version of DC that I think is going to confuse the audience, and they're going to think this is just more of the same shit.
Basically, he's making the Peacemaker cinematic universe. Peacemaker is the anchor being. And, yeah.
Because basically what it's going to be is that season 1 is not canon, but season 2 is, or whatever.
What?
Basically. Yeah. It's all fucking convoluted now. I don't know why. And it's basically because he wants to, instead of just finishing that off and putting a bow on it and just going scorched earth and starting a brand new DC from scratch with Superman, he's trying to tie in the things that he's worked on before. Because initially when he took this Superman project on, he wasn't even the head of DC yet. This was supposed to be like another The Batman, right? And this is why he said Henry Cavill has never been a part of this project, which is true. This was always supposed to be like an also Rand thing, but when he became head of DC, it became the de facto DC universe.
So does that mean he's making the decision? It does, but does that mean he's also making the decisions on the Penguin and all the series that they're planning out?
No, that's
Matt Reeves.
That's all Matt Reeves. Okay.
Separate universe. Separate compete. So you have 2 DC universes right now. You have the Matt
Which I don't
Reeves
think is
universe
going to last long.
and the Gunverse. And probably the Matt Reeves verse is not long for this earth because it's direct competition to the Gunverse.
And I think the only reason he's going to get a Batman 2 now because they're signed down for it.
Moving
IMAX
forward,
it's going ahead.
But speaking of moving forward,
but I think that's the end of it. That's my point. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Hyperguyver 2 says with $2, so Bob didn't try to take credit for Deadpool. Not yet.
Oh, he will in the next earnings call.
I don't think they mentioned it today, did they?
No, there was
no
none.
But give it time and he will.
He did take credit for Inside Out 2, it sounded like, though. Tommy Review says, Hell Midnight's Edge. 5 months already. I need to start making videos. Is OBS good for recording? I'll have more time since I'm in my final class in tech school. Yeah, actually, OBS works okay. StreamYards works just fine, too. They have their own recording system. I don't know if you can do that in the lower level stuff or what quality it is, but yeah, the big thing to worry about is mainly your mic. Make sure you got good sound. And otherwise, cam, yeah, it's a big deal, but people like me, I don't have a face for camera, but I should be on more often. Mike will yell at me.
Yes, you should. Both of you should. Both you and Andre.
I'm not as sexy as you.
Doesn't
Or
matter.
Andre.
You don't have to be sexy. It's
Or
about
George.
Oh my God. Well, no one's as sexy as George.
I know. If I was as sexy as George, I'd be on looking at myself all the time. That sexy Greek bastard.
Yeah, you know when I do George's live stream, sometimes he shows up to the backstage area a little bit late before the show, and I yell at him because I tell him he doesn't need as much time in hair and makeup. He wakes up that beautiful.
But yeah, Tommy, that's OBS I think would work fine. No problems there. That's what most people use anymore. Tennille, aka Dislikes Plen, says Disney doubling down on the Lemming method. Yeah. Which is funny because didn't they actually create that Lemming movie, and then it turned out to be bullshit? They were actually forcing the lemmings off the edge or some shit like that. Did you guys ever hear about that?
No.
Okay, so this Lemming thing, unless it's something else, somebody correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. like Disney used to do these nature videos, right? Or not videos, actual films. And this whole thing with the lemmings being so stupid and following each other off a cliff, I believe comes from one of these Disney nature videos. Well, it turns out that's not what they were. They were actually pushing them little shits off the edge.
You mean seriously? They were pushing the little
Yes.
fuckers. They were like,
Yes.
You know what? I believe that because I know that Norwegian lemmings
I'm right.
are different from American lemmings. I mean, our lemmings, they're angry little bastards, colored like, and they for sure they're not going to jump over any cliff. That is not happening. So I can well believe that the American counterpart, even though they are significantly more pussified than the Norwegian lemmings, that they also wouldn't voluntarily jump over cliffs just because their leader did. So yeah, I'm inclined to believe that Disney pushed those little hamsters over.
He did. Or he didn't personally, but whoever was making the film did.
like kick the fucker.
Just kick him over. We'll make shit up. Who cares?
That does sound right.
Wow.
No, because like real lemmings. I mean, again, I have no experience with the American lemmings, but certainly Norwegian lemmings, they're little hamsters. They're just angry as fuck, and they will come and they will attack you.
I remember you telling me that.
You could see the American lemmings. They're on Twitter.
So yeah, it is the Disney lemming thing, and it is kind of a perfect analogy for them right now. It totally is. They did it to themselves. Like Packing Proton sends in $5, says supposedly the press walked out of the Olympic Boxer Conference. Wonder what they didn't like, but I can take guesses. Oh, I'm not familiar with what happened here. Interesting. Because yeah, the press has been the one running the most interference over this thing. Like we can't really get into it too deep here on YouTube, but
why not?
Because we'll get canceled on YouTube. We can take it over to Rumble if we wanted to, but we're already running.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm being facetious. I know.
Yeah,
we've been wanting to talk about this for a while.
When we have the winner, when we have two men that wins gold in female boxing, then we'll do a special on Rumble. That'll be fun.
Just saying that, it's wow.
And Mr. Tickle Trunk sends in $5 on the Rumble side. Speaking of, says imagine streaming services had pilots up on some up and coming channel category and made shows based on viewership numbers and financial viability. Would that be a good idea? I think it would be, and also you could have even a voting system in place with it.
I'm all for it. I love that idea.
But
better quality shows would come out.
Yeah, but the streaming is kind of what killed the pilots, really. Script Doctor had talked about that too quite a bit. SFX F314 Sabertooth Raptor blah, 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 says with $5, sadly, there's no MacGyver 80s TV show pro critical thinking left. Can't make them now. Richard Dean Anderson is the only MacGyver. Mexican Iron Man equals MacGyver? Maybe. You could be MacGyver.
I'm pretty handy, except if it involves any kind of landscaping or drywall. I'm not like if I have to get out of the episode by framing a house or something, I gotta call one of my cousins because I'll be stuck there forever.
Yeah, but think about the access. Mexican MacGyver, a Home Depot behind you. You got everything you need.
Sponsors galore. Andre, I'm quitting. I gotta go. I'm getting you sponsored.
Hi, Dragon Star. Yeah, I think you should get the job first. Hi, Dragon Star sends in $5 and says, I have always been positive, been against the positive movement. You need a few negatives to give you the other side and bring you to reality. Well,
I need two sides of everything.
Yeah, I mean, these earnings calls, we don't expect them to necessarily give us any bad news or the reality of it all. Of course, they're going to candy coat a lot of this kind of stuff. I mean, but unless you're talking about something completely different, but that's our job, is to tell you the negative. That's also why we get accused of being so negative all the time. So Neil says, I think my super chat was misunderstood. Naismith is somebody whose job it is to push back and challenge. Zaslav deliberately has people like that. Oh, well, maybe. I don't know who he has necessarily around him in his circle, per se. Yeah, I guess I did misinterpret that. You're right. Honestly, I feel like he doesn't have very many Naismiths around. but that could be up for interpretation.
I've always wanted to see that Batgirl, how bad it was that they scrapped.
Well, it must have been pretty bad. And I've heard that Coyote and Roadrunner movie is pretty bad too. Even though I've gotten quite a bit of pushback on that. But it's like, look, if what I read is true, there's a reason why nobody bought it. Because it's one of those concepts that only works for like 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah, and also Warner wasn't going to sell it at the price where they do not profit on it, and at that price point, no one else can profit off such a poor movie. So it's never going to happen. And George has to be leaving us, but first going to do this one real quickly. T-Neil89 says, "What's the Caddyshack gopher a Norwegian lemming?" Yeah, no, because he actually ran from gunfire in season 2. That's something a real Norwegian lemming would not do. Found right here. Here's a Norwegian lemming being confronted by someone with a camera pushing it in the face. Normal an animal would run like this, right? Not a Norwegian lemming.
No, he's telling you to fuck off.
Yeah, you basically, hey.
Looks like a nasty chipmunk.
Yeah, it does.
That's what Bambino does.
Kind of sounds like him.
Whoa, damn.
He got vicious.
No, these things, seriously, they chase cats.
He's got
this thing
balls.
goes up against a cat, that cat is going to leave running. There's videos of these things chasing cats around.
Such a big bad guy.
Does that guy bite you in the balls?
The last time I got a look like that and cloth like that,
He went into kung fu mode.
Yeah, pretty much.
Kung fu lemming coming next summer.
Anyway, Mike, you were saying.
I was gonna say last time I saw a set of eyes like that with fangs and teeth like that was my Puerto Rican ex-girlfriend.
Oh,
Didn't end well. George, you have a live stream, your first solo live stream. How was that's? I'm proud of you. That's amazing. What are you gonna talk about today?
Talk about Rings of Power, to finish the Batman Cape Crusader crap from J.J. Abrams, and then some politics. Trump, Harris, some of the things that are going on with Waltz. Well, that's pretty much. It's going to be the first one. See how long it goes, how it is. Have a little bit of fun. But Rings of Power put out, they've been, did the same thing that they did last time with Entertainment Weekly, where they're putting out these video articles, these video covers. And they did one the other day with Galadriel and Sauron. And now today they introduced the Stores, another Hobbit braid. Except for the fact is right in the first line of the article, it says, still in Amazon's Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, there are no hobbits. Of course, they haven't represented the hobbits properly, but that first line is incorrect because they're like introducing the Stores. And in Tolkien's book, you can just go right up and it says there are 3 breeds of hobbits: fallow hides, Harfoots, and Stores. Anyway, it basically looks like J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay are going to be introducing the season 1 psychotic murder hobbits to their DEI cousins because it just looks horrible. So I was going to talk about Rings of Power, Batman, and the governor of Minnesota.
All right. So is it true?
And what time is that at, George?
2:15
Central.
Yes, 2:15 Central. It'll be the first one. I've never done a solo stream, so
not too long after this. So when we're wrapping up here, we'll be sending folks
if
over.
you
that
put your
way.
link in chat, we can redirect people to you.
Yeah, Andre might be able to do that.
Well, redirected today is going to Midnight Set Espanol, which is after this, and I will even be there. But from there, we'll be sure to send people to George.
Cool. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me on. Great to see you all. Mike,
George. Thanks for letting
Take
me
care,
fight with you online. That was fun.
Absolutely. See you, Tom.
Take care.
Take care. Thanks for joining us.
And so and this one's for Mikey. Proof that only it only takes 3 1/4 inches to please any woman.
Okay, you know what, Tom? You stop judging my life choices. It took me 17, 18 years to get up to an Amex Black Card level, and 6 to 8 months with a Puerto Rican girlfriend for me to lose that Amex Black Card because it got maxed out. You're not even supposed to have maximums with a Black Card, but she charged up so much, and I couldn't pay it off in 60 days. They took it away from me by the 3rd month. I was so depressed.
I just got to go back to this real quick because in the process of us talking about this, I could have swore I heard Andre say, no, in the 2nd season, that Gopher was scared of gunshot. Our lemmings weren't, which he probably meant second film. Does that mean you've seen Caddyshack and Caddyshack 2?
Yes.
Wow. I'm kind of surprised. I
like how he's seen both the Caddyshacks, but I still can't get him to watch
I saw
Highlander.
Caddyshack 2 first, actually.
And I still can't get you to watch Highlander. Awesome.
We did get him to see the first one.
No, the TV series.
Oh, the TV series? Wow.
I am immortal.
You might as well
when
wait for the
when
Blu-rays
there's
now.
a good content reason for me to do it, I'll do it. You know what? We can do like a double thing. We can begin with Alf, and as a palate cleanser, we can finish with Highlander.
Okay, you know what? Or I could quit and then the IRS calls.
Yeah, okay. Or no Alf. Or maybe just double Highlander. Yeah, that'll work.
Speaking of that, we got to do my taxes,
I'm
yo.
kidding. I'm in a fun mood because my kid's here this week.
We definitely got to get my taxes done soon, though. But
Yeah,
no, I thought that was kind of interesting. I did not expect you to have seen those films. I thought those were American comedies, so I didn't think they really translated too well.
Well, we have Norwegian TV, and they have to buy some movies, even the ones that are less famous. So yeah, I saw them on TV.
Oh, actually, the first one's very famous. The second one is one of the most famous.
They're not famous here.
Yeah, like the first one's extremely famous here. Like amongst even critics, a lot of critics have put it in their top 10 comedy films of all time lists, right? Like, so yeah, Caddyshack is a classic, but the second one, not so much. It's so sad that that Harold Ramis and stuff even wrote on the second one. I can't even believe that. It's like,
I thought it was brilliant how Bill Murray referred to that gopher as a little commie because he just wouldn't go down.
Anyway,
First time I heard that word.
Let's get out of here, I guess, then, since we are running pretty late here, getting there already, and I don't think we have enough time to head over and talk about anything else on Rumble.
Yeah, no, we'll save that for when we have a couple of male gold winners in female boxing. That's when we'll save that for. For now, everyone head over to Midnight's Edge Espanol. The stream redirects there. I shall be there myself. And then after that, head on over to George the Giant Slayer. Also, check out all of today's guests. Check out Culture Casino. Check out That Park Place. Check out Paul Chato, both his Call Me Chato channel and Appalling News. And of course, check out WDW Pro. And while you're at it, That Park Place. And Mike, anything else you want to plug?
I know Pro is going to be live at 8 o'clock. I'll be on Doomcox at 8 o'clock for a brief period of time. But
oh yes, check out Doom. I'll be there too. So yeah.
Thanks for having me. Sorry I haven't been around, but I've been playing. Where
are you going to be later?
Family
Doomcox,
first.
8 o'clock.
Family first.
No, Andre.
What was that?
Where are you going to be later on?
Doomcock.
Oh, you're going on Doomcox tonight?
Well, at least for a little while. I don't know how long I'm going to be staying, but at least for a little while.
Yeah. Because since he was on the earnings call, I got to do an earnings call report tonight on Doomcock Show, and I need some backup.
Yeah.
Just because I have Max here.
All right. Well, I got physical media show about 9:30, so we'll see how that rolls.
In other words, it's going to be a really busy streaming day, and between all of us, you're going to be entertained.
This is a great show. I want to compliment both of you. It was even except for when the Mexican guy showed up, it was a great show today. I was entertained and enjoyed it thoroughly, like I do all your shows. So great job.
Yeah, and I will say that Mexican guy was awesome as well, and the show wouldn't have been nearly as good without him, even though the Mexican is critical.
Right. So with that, let's get on out of here.
Yes, indeed. It is time for some Australian hamsters in the rain.
Lemmings.
Koalas in the rain. Koalas in the rain. No fucks given. Koalas